All right, everybody, welcome in. We are live for the Friday night edition of the Rem and Sam pod. Rem and Sam Letterman edition. It's a little Rem and Sam late night, later starter than usual because we had a little storm situation. It kind of affected our normal start time there that caused a power outage. But fortunately, I guess, obviously we're up now. We're live. We're going. So I guess also, hopefully the storm has passed at this point. I guess kind of an eventful day in the city that we're in from that standpoint. We just had the storm, like we're saying, but earlier as well, the restaurant that we were working at had the restaurant that we work at. They're doing some construction across the street, and then one of the construction guys like ran into the restaurant today. He's like, "Hey, I don't think I'd let anybody go outside and smoke right now." We're like, "Wait, what's going on?" He's like, "I think we just hit a gas line," and I'm like, "Oh, great, okay." So there we go, and they had to take care of that situation there. But fortunately, as well too, the restaurant was also able to survive. So I guess it's good when they turn the lights back on that the city didn't just ignite into flames because of that gas leak earlier. I don't know if that's how that works, but we are here, we are going, and I guess we did, survive the last obstacle, the last final destination there to make it to the official start of football season in some ways as well too. Of course, we had the Hall of Fame game last night, which I'm not gonna lie, I didn't have on live in the moment. It is what it is. The people, speaking of work, the people at work, some of the guys at the restaurant are getting a little excited. Hey, oh, that football's back. Oh, the Hall of Fame games tonight. They're getting ready for it. But we still have some movies on the summer watch list that we're trying to knock out, some of the, especially some of the older ones as well too. See, the problem is once we get into the sports season, I kind of just, the Tubi viewing habits just kind of resort to the basic movies. It's like, oh, Set It Off, Deja Vu, what are the classic movies we're running here? Just the go-tos, Nutty Professor. But in the summer we try to make sure that we're getting the new movies viewed. And I had some Alfred Hitchcock movies on the watch list that we have to knock out here before football season, just because I want to watch them. So last night I was running on the two mini TVs we have. I was running dual Hitchcocks instead of the preseason game. And then I walk into the restaurant today, or I guess McAfee queues up a little earlier than or a little later than when we arrived. But when the TV's over the bar, ESPN, when they switched over to the McAfee show that time of the day, the headline that I saw was best Hall of Fame game ever. I was like, of course, that's how it works. We're trying to watch an Alfred Hitchcock movie and with the best Hall of Fame game of all time. So I did look up the stats, and we do have the game on in the background right now as well too. So we are catching up. We will be in the know by the, in a little bit here after the game replay officially ends. But like I was saying, I was looking up the stats. I did see a couple of clips on the Instagram. It's good to have the NFL back. It's also good to have Collinsworth back as well too in the highlights. Oh, Mike, he's just having fun out there. He's just having a good time. And Carson Beck, it looked like he did have a good performance. I guess the thing with it being the greatest Hall of Fame game of all time would be the potential for Carson Beck's career and how that ages, obviously, because he could be a really good starter. Because I was thinking a couple years back, I feel like we did have a Hall of Fame game a couple years ago. Hey, maybe we're a little more locked than we thought, but there was like a really good high level backup. So it was like a Mitchell Trubisky, Brian Hoyer type of situation. It was like, okay, these guys like could be starting. Like, again, I don't know if they're going to be, Mitchell Trubisky obviously not competing for the Pro Bowl, but Will Levis is close. Is Mitchell Trubisky one of the 32 quarterbacks better than maybe it was Trubisky like versus Levis? Maybe it was that as well too. I mean, Levis is a little bit in that Carson Beck tier as well. I guess Carson Beck, in a little bit of that Will Levis tier, kind of that second round, obviously not quite good enough to take the first round, get that contract option. But there is that little bit of a hope that they would kind of be the franchise guy. But, again, obviously you're not taking the full on first round bet with the drafting talent, because the clip that I did see, it was like this kind of like sidearm Carson Beck pass. I guess maybe we'll get to that in a second here on the replay. It's 7 minutes. It's 7-11. Ayo, not a sponsorship, but 7-11 right now in the first quarter on the replay that we have going. So I guess I didn't see exactly in the clip that I'm going to reference, when it was in the game, but it was like, Nathaniel Hackett's the offensive coordinator for the Cardinals. Chad, hey, yo. I don't know what that's going to say about our season. What do I think about the Carson Beck performance now? Because he did look good. But I don't know about that. Was he actually a head coach? Did that happen, or was he just an offensive coordinator? Was he the head coach in Denver? Hey, I might just have that blocked out, just like I don't know. That might just be like trauma with him as the head coach there. I'm not sure. Shout out to Nate Hackett though. I guess the Carson Beck apparently knows how to really run the Nate Hackett offense. It looks like in preseason. But Collinsworth apparently, I guess it is in the first quarter now that I'm thinking about it. It was near the end because Tirico was like, "Oh, don't start a quarterback controversy now, Collinsworth." And Collinsworth's like, "I don't know, Carson Beck, he's looking good, he's having fun out there." It's like, Tirico, I don't know if this is much of a quarterback controversy. Like, we love Jacoby Brissett, obviously. Jacoby Brissett was obviously, his big, do you say his big legacy moment? I guess he did have that season. We'd have to go back and see how that lined up with the Brady situation there. Was he in did he take over for Brady and Andrew Luck both the following seasons? I know that the Patriots brought in Cam as well too, Cam Newton, but I don't remember if that was 2 seasons removed from Brady or if that was the next season. Or maybe Jacoby Brissett was the season after that. Maybe I'm getting the order a little bit wrong. But obviously, from the Colts fan perspective, he was the quarterback that had to, sub in and replace Andrew Luck when Andrew Luck retired, in like week 3 of the preseason. And Jacoby Brissett did have a very, very productive season. I mean, that's kind of the season in some ways as well, too, that has kept him, do you say has kept him around in some ways, in the NFL? That was like the proof that, like, okay, like Brissett is, capable of running an offense to a potentially, above average star level. Obviously those are, compliments, obviously, for the quarterback game for sure. Again, it was like, Jacoby Brissett deserves a spot in the league, and he has been bouncing around, and it seems like when he gets to a place, like, he's going to find his way to be the starter some ways. I guess they're like, some guys are just kind of like that. Like Fitzpatrick was a little like that in his career. It's like, okay, he might not go into the place being like, okay, we brought in Fitzpatrick to run the team. Maybe there's another guy there, but somehow Fitzpatrick, wins the job, or maybe the guy gets hurt or something. It's just like Fitzpatrick is going to find his way to be a star. I don't know, Fitzpatrick sabotaging the people in front of him. That's not what I'm saying. But if we have to launch a Rem Sam investigation on the Fitzpatrick's career, but again, like there is a little bit of that with Brissett, where it's like he can, just like, by default of some of these, struggling quarterback situations, there is just a confidence with Brissett there. But they did show his stats earlier in this game replay, and it was like, okay, he is very productive. 3,000 plus, 3,500 plus yards. Good, decent touchdown to interception ratio. Again, like we're saying, good starter. A 1-11 quarterback record. I was like, okay, I don't know if there is a quarterback controversy here again with Carson Beck. And like I was saying, he is that second round. If I'm not, maybe he was a third. I guess we have to go double check the exact draft status here of Carson Beck. But like I'm saying, there was some, and I guess even a third round pick. Even going to like that Desmond Ridder, Malik Willis tier of guys. I guess that is a little different because they were like some of the first quarterbacks off the board as well too. Maybe we don't typically view third round quarterbacks as franchise guys, but again, that high second round. I guess, yeah, he was the 65th overall pick, but still, I guess he could have been in that tier anyways. And maybe I'm retroactively getting a little bit more hyped up about his game after after a good performance in the Hall of Fame game. But I mean, he was a productive college quarterback as well too, and not just productive in terms of the stats, but there is a proof of concept with him being able to quarterback really, really good teams. And obviously, the degree to which Georgia and Miami were good in college is different than to the degree to which Arizona is good in the NFL. Obviously, again, those are some of the best rosters in the league that he was quarterbacking. Arizona might not be that necessarily, but I guess he was the third quarterback off the board, so there wasn't necessarily that second round quarterback. The Rams, I guess, kind of forgot they took Ty Simpson. Maybe McVay kind of forgot about that as well too. I think McVay will forget about, obviously, the Myles Garrett trade, just in terms of adding guys this year, is going to make him forget about that a little bit. But maybe if they get Aaron Donald back as well too, which we have been tracking, and I guess the Rem and Sam journalists are on it right now, and the Rem and Sam paparazzi have been outside Aaron Donald's house, and he's been mad. We've had a couple of guys, a couple of paparazzi guys, maybe almost encounter Aaron Donald there for a second, but they're doing a good job trying to track down and see if he's gonna actually join the Rams, because there was a report that he was actually working out with the Rams as well too, like on the field, in helmet pads, working out. So maybe that will kind of like, I don't know if there's a pause, but will that kind of like scratch the football, the football itch in some ways? It's like, okay, I don't have to go out there and play the whole competitive season, the wear and tear that, I mean, obviously that's the sort of thing that we don't talk about, but it is the thing, the wear and tear on the body that, even if he does play a healthy season, there is just that toll that playing in the NFL is going to take on you. Maybe he's able to, again, get the high level competitive play, almost like an on the field coach in some ways. And I'm sure McVay is using that, what do you say, that competitiveness that is still there for Aaron Donald. I'm sure McVay is using that to help his team as well too. Again, even if Donald doesn't go play this year, but maybe it kind of works both ways where, Donald can kind of, like we're saying, get the on the field vibes that he wants to still chase here at the end of his career. And maybe it is sort of a pathway for some guys to, maintain that NFL play as well too. Cause like, I know like DeAndre Hopkins right now was like signed up to be a wide receiver. Maybe it was Georgia Tech. I think he might be signed on as like the Georgia Tech wide receiver head coach or wide receiver coach right now. But he's like, hey, by the way, I'm still not done in the NFL. If anybody in the NFL wants to sign me, but I'm just going to go coach Georgia Tech, until then. But it's like there's no training camp situation that Hopkins could have been in. And sometimes, it goes the other way as well too. The veteran players want to, avoid the training camp because if they're going to play in an NFL season, they're like, well, I don't want the extra terror of the training camp with that as well. But Donald is obviously, a little bit of a different level as well. But I guess, we were saying Ty Simpson. We were talking about the quarterback class. Ty Simpson, I guess, was the second pick, and you could have probably made the case that, I guess, in some ways as well too, Taylon Green, who we've kind of haven't necessarily maybe heard from. That now that I'm thinking of it, as obviously we have, speaking of quarterback battles, I guess we could, address the Cleveland Browns having another quarterback controversy. It is funny, it's like the quarterback controversies this year, and maybe it is to that degree to some way always as well too. You rarely ever have a really good quarterback controversy where it's like, oh, when are we gonna sub out Alex Smith for Mahomes? When are we gonna go from 11-5 to a Super Bowl championship team? You rarely ever have that upgrade. But still, I guess if we're going our quarterback controversies right now, quarterback controversy tracker, we've got Arizona, Minnesota with Kyler Murray and JJ McCarthy. Our own guy there. I can't even remember his own name. And then Cleveland with Deshaun Watson and Shedeur Sanders. And I guess maybe like Miami as well too. I don't know. Again, maybe New York, the Jets. But, again, not necessarily like the highest level, quarterback controversies here. But, again, I think Carson Beck as a good third round pick is it's like if he is taking over those franchise reins by week 6 or franchise reins, but if he's taking over the starting job by week 6, week 7, or even, the last 3 or 4 weeks, that'd make a lot of sense. And yeah, they had the third overall pick. So again, that's that weird spot of, Mendoza's are obviously off the board. They probably couldn't have traded up to get Mendoza. It was pretty locked in that the Raiders, we're going to take that. Again, Mendoza's obviously a great bet for a franchise quarterback. Obviously is a lot of, again, obviously, I personally, it's like, I don't know if I want to use terms like, oh, he's a lock to be or whatever. But, again, a really good bet to be a franchise quarterback. Obviously, a lot of talent there. But, you got to kind of take best player available at number 3. We could debate the running back there, but Jeremiah Love's super talented, obviously, a big boost for the offense. Taking the offensive line as well, too, at number 2, again, as if you're not necessarily sold 34th, Carson Beck right there, maybe if there was that 50, 40, 50 pick they would have had there, another second rounder, maybe that would have made sense. But, again, you're thinking if you're not going to be good this year, let's invest in the offensive line and then, make sure that the team is better set up for when we're bringing in that franchise quarterback. And I guess, let's say they also got Caleb Proctor as well, too. I'm pretty sure Caleb Proctor is also a tackle from, Caden Proctor. That's who it is. Okay. And maybe there's a relation there. I don't know. But Caden Proctor, offensive lineman from the state of Iowa. So I guess we can check in here and see. Hey, is there another Proctor? Okay, no, it says this one went to high school in Louisiana, Oak Grove, Louisiana. So again, Caden Proctor, from the home base state here of Iowa, I guess, to reveal that. But Southeast Polk, so that's over by the Des Moines state capital area of the state there. And then there was a lot of drama, I guess, and I have to go back and check, maybe he even did play for Iowa at one point, but there was a lot of drama, of course, him being one of just straight up the best recruits that has kind of been from a prospect standpoint that has been out of the state in a while, especially, but kind of all time. there was some drama where he initially was going to Iowa and then went to Alabama, but then maybe transferred to Iowa, but then transferred back to Bama. I have to go back and remember the timeline there. It was a little confusing. But Caleb Proctor was, I guess, the defensive tackle that the Cardinals took in the 4th round. But again, I don't think it's controversial at all to say that hey, Carson Beck, Arizona might be kind of thinking like, yes, we want him to be the starter at some point. And like I'm saying, again, he was in multiple national championships, right? Maybe he didn't get Georgia to. Did he win a national championship at Georgia? Again, obviously, Indiana had the miracle year this past season in college football. That's nothing against Carson Beck. Again, literally Mendoza himself was the best quarterback in the board for the draft. So if he had lost to, even like Trinidad Chambliss or something, again, not that would have been bad, or Arch Manning or something, that would have still been like, okay, you could make sense from a talent standpoint, but there would have been that class correlation there that, again, at least the direct competition in this class, like, okay, Mendoza, answered all those questions and even, beat his draft classmate in the national title. I guess 2-time national champion for Georgia, but not really as a starter too much. 23 passes in 2021 and 35 passes in 2022. But, I guess still a part of championship teams. And then I guess, we don't really, he doesn't really, I guess, get credit for the numbers that he did put up in 2023 in the SEC. I got to be honest, I wouldn't have guessed that he would have led the SEC in pass yards that year. I mean, Georgia, is not necessarily, even with like Jake Fromm and stuff, they weren't always known to be the high flying team. They, of course, were, built around just the insane defensive personnel that they've had there over the last couple of years. And I guess, just to double check like the quarterback talent in the SEC, but obviously with with the conferences expanding and stuff as well too. But I guess like who else this year would have been? I guess passing completion percentage, Graham Mertz from Florida led him passing. But you would have had, Beck 1, Jaden Daniels 2. Hey, Jackson Dart 3, Brady Cook 4, Spencer Rattler 5, Graham Mertz 6, Jalen Milroe 7, Joe Milton 8, Devin Leary 9, and KJ Jefferson number 10, who, somebody give him a shot. Hey, KJ Jefferson, he can ball. But those all of the 5 guys, I guess Carson Beck now, but the other 4 guys in the top 5 there, Daniels, Dart, Cook, and Rattler, and obviously to varying degrees of success there, but all of those guys have started in the NFL. So, again, Carson Beck, is he going to be the next Spencer Rattler? But, if it's like, okay, we're doing the degrees here of what the player can be, and, again, as much as I think maybe personally I've been more, I guess, captivated by Spencer Rattler's career, I think maybe he was a little more of a higher rated prospect when he was in high school. I don't know if Carson Beck, maybe I'm wrong. Again, I was wrong about his passing yards, but maybe he was a 5-star, 24/7 guy here. Let's double check. But Spencer Rattler was I think one of the top recruits in his class. He had some behind the scenes Netflix stuff as well too. I was gonna say number 2, as a transfer, he was obviously highly rated. As a prospect, he was number 234 nationally. So again, hey, we're not calling out 24/7 sports. It happens. Hey, it is what it is. But again, not necessarily the most highly rated player when he was quarterbacking there. But and again, is Spencer Rattler like a 5-win QB in the NFL? So, and again, like I'm saying, I think maybe the 3rd round pick goes to the even more sort of in the middle success levels of it with Arizona, if that makes sense for what I'm saying, where again, it is that equal bet of, yes, he can be the franchise guy, or he can be a backup, or he can be a piece. But again, it's just continuing to get younger and have at least something for the next couple of years there at the starting quarterback spot. Again, no disrespect to Brissett. If you had to get 2 or 3 more years out of Brissett, I'm sure you could. But, again, just gives you a little bit more of a secondary option that you can rely on as well, too. And again, Jaden Daniels, obviously, who knows, again, is he going to be the type of guy where it's like, oh, is Jaden Daniels the 5th best quarterback in the league again? Where that rookie hype that he was getting, and obviously the great playoff run that they had. But, again, the success levels that Carson Beck could have, Jaden Daniels, very productive starter. Jackson Dart looks like he's going to have a very, very, Jackson Dart's probably going to have a 10-year NFL career. I guess he's already, 2 to 3 years in at this point. But, as a consistent starter, he's probably going to be around for a while. And it wouldn't be shocked if Jackson Dart was like in a couple Pro Bowls at some point. Again, is Jackson Dart gonna like, is he the next Phil Simms, in New York? Is he going to win the Super Bowl MVP a couple times? I don't know. But, and I don't remember exactly. Well, I guess Hofstetler won a Super Bowl there as well, too. And did he date somebody famous at that time as well, too? Ayo, shout out to Hofstetler. I don't even know if I'm saying his name right. But do we have to go girlfriend dating history chat? Hey, yo. Let's see. Data breach. Hey, yo. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. But let's see. Did he have a famous relationship at the time? No public dating history. Okay, shout out. No, he's just a happily married guy. Yeah, okay, it is what it is. But different Jeff Hostetler, I guess. But what are we saying for Jackson Dart? Again, he could be productive. So if you got Jackson Dart in the 3rd round of this draft, that's pretty good. Again, Brady Cook, I guess, maybe was more of like a de facto starter in New York. It's like, again, like everybody's hurt, everybody's out. We're down to our 5th QB. Oh, no, it's Brady Cook. But I guess, he's still around to some degree. So you got to, give him credit there. And obviously the college success is different than the NFL as well, too. But the point is, again, Carson Beck, good stats guy, and was, good in big moments as well, too. Again, maybe sometimes carried by some good defenses. If he was, I would just say, like, if he was the Michigan quarterback, would Michigan have just definitely been better than Ohio State? I'm not saying he's that type of just like, throw him on the team. It's just the game-changing pick. And obviously, if he was that, he would have been a more, highly sought-after NFL prospect as well, too. But I was just like, Tirico, maybe, again, with all due respect to Jacoby Brissett, I was like, maybe, this is kind of how the NFL works. I think Jacoby Brissett's 1-11 audition last year was not necessarily like, what's going to happen with the quarterback spot this year in Arizona? Can Brissett win this? Oh, and speaking of, Beck with a nice deep ball. Hey, pause. The safety for Carolina did come over and make a good play on the receiver there. So, and I guess maybe he's going to get flagged. I don't know if maybe Carson Beck throws that a little more to the sideline. Again, you start getting a little too picky about this stuff. It's like, Arizona just wants the guy to complete some passes down the field first. It's like, okay, yes, we obviously don't want him to injure the receivers. But, the completions are nice as well. But, again, maybe there is a way to lead that wouldn't happen. But the safety was making a good play there. He was just on, he was just on a line to make that play. And I guess if he does, of course, doesn't lead with the helmet, it is a little bit of a different situation. Shout out to, of course, the Arizona receiver for making the play there as well, too. Then I guess I didn't even get to, this just shows you, I guess, how caught up I was in the Carson Beck experience of it all. I pause. But I wasn't even looking at the Jeremiah Love rushing stats as well, too, to see, again, their 3rd overall pick, what that was looking like there. I guess this is why, because is this Bam Knight? Our guy Bam Knight? Was he the lead rusher in the game, chat? Oh, no. I don't know what that means. And, of course, running backs can be a little offensive line dependent. Oh, we don't have any Jeremiah Love rushing. Okay, so I guess that is why Bam Knight did lead. But 5 yards of carry, not looking too bad. So we got to look up what number Jeremiah Love is. He going with a single digit? He might be like a number 4. I guess that's what he was in college, right? That's what Dalvin Cook was. I don't know. But maybe Jeremiah Love was that as well, too. Let's see if we can get this Arizona roster pulled up here. Unfortunately, Arizona is in the greatest division of all time, so they're going to be struggling there to get some wins. As much as I do want to, as I'm sitting here saying, like, do I want to go for the take of like, oh, Arizona, could they be better than, San Francisco this year? That would be still a little bit of a reach as well. Yeah, Jeremiah Love will be number 4 this year. Not Bryce Love as well, too, who also was a, great running back. I guess is probably still around as well. But yeah, obviously, and Harrison Jr., I guess, there are going to be a, extra boost in the weapons that Carson Beck could have. We still have Brissett here starting, and I imagine that Brissett gets the week 1 start for Arizona. Again, just to kind of let, Carson Beck, let the game grow there a little bit. Pause. But I guess we're going to, the schedule makers, chat. They know how to schedule a preseason game. We've got Carson Beck versus Mendoza. Preseason week 1. Look at this. A national championship game rematch. I'm not going to lie. I'm excited. I'm going to be locked in. I have to get like preseason plus, NFL preseason plus, try to watch this game. Or I might have to like go to Oakland. or hey yo, I guess we watch it. I guess I don't know if they play it in bars in Oakland anymore. This is the second time in 2 weeks because we said that with Last Sam. I chat. Hey yo, I mean they moved to Vegas quite a while ago, and we were like, it's not like we were old when they moved to Vegas, so it's not like we're old now. But that's just like a bad old man habit that we have for some reason. Why are we calling them the Oakland Raiders? Hey, I don't even know where that has started. But man, it's just like subconscious now. We're just like going back to like hey the childhood. I guess that we're just I guess Carson Palmer wasn't even a good quarterback for the Oakland Raiders. Hey, I'm trying to even think. I guess they didn't really have a lot of good quarterbacks when we were there, but they did have some guys with some. They had like interesting names. Obviously the Jamarcus Russell experience, but like, did Jason Campbell have a little bit of an Oakland run there for a second? Carson Palmer, hey, it did get desperate there. It did go back into a history of the Oakland Raiders quarterbacks in the 2010s. Hey, it is what it is. So again, maybe Mendoza, I guess, and then Derek Carr. Derek Carr kind of settled in and had a good career there for a while. So if Mendoza, yeah, I guess the number one overall pick is like, okay, it's the next Derek Carr. But, that's not, terrible. Hey, Derek Carr, he's not going in the Hall of Fame. Shout out. But obviously, good stats. If he goes into TV, you put up a couple of good stats, a lot of Pro Bowls, maybe franchise leader. I'm sure because of the era, he has to be the franchise leader in some Raiders things, right? Unless like Ken Stabler is still got a lot of the stuff there. But yeah, because he is at 40,000 pass yards for his career. I mean, he's had some good numbers here, for sure. Was third in, that's good, of course, if he's like on the CBS morning crew and they put that up there. Yeah, third in MVP voting in 2016, 3 Pro Bowls as well too, 4 game-winning drives in 2015. So a little bit of a, obviously an underdog character there. But and I guess maybe you want, maybe we're kind of getting some high hopes here for Mendoza. It is what it is. But again, you're still high 3,000 yards every year for Derek Carr there early on, and they were a pretty good winning team as well. Obviously, double digit wins around there, 7, I guess 12 in season and stuff. But again, like we're saying, I guess the consistency at the Raiders quarterback did need to even out there for a while. But I guess for the Cardinals, schedule, specifically Chargers, Seahawks, 49ers. And so, you let Jacoby Brissett kind of handle some of these games early on. That it might be brutal. Again, the Chargers maybe more of an expectations teams. Well, obviously, have to see how that actually bears out on paper. Every year there's supposed to be 13 wins. Are they going to be 10 wins this year? Seattle, you have the Super Bowl champions, and then at San Francisco as well too. At New York, and then at Detroit, at LA, or at Denver, at Dallas, at Seattle, at LA again, Kansas City. And it's obviously more brutal because it's Arizona's schedule. That doesn't help, but because it's Arizona. But Washington, Philly, and they have a late bye this year. So only 4 games after the bye week. Maybe Carson Beck taking over 4 games is not, the worst thing in the world. But, again, I feel like you'd want a little bit more of a sample size. You don't want the random 4 games, and this could be favorable as well too. The Jets, the Saints, the Raiders, and then San Francisco week 18, maybe with nothing left to play for. Everybody's hurt. Shanahan, he's like, I crashed the car again, and then all of a sudden, they're like 7 wins. I guess they are a little every other year. I guess to go back, did they make the playoffs this past year? But for again, for Arizona, you could have like some decent Carson Beck numbers there, and then all of a sudden you're looking at the draft. Hey, Chad, this is sad. Now we're looking up the 2027 draft. It's August 7th, and we're looking up the draft. Who's gonna be the first overall pick? But just to throw a name out there, because I don't even know the names as well too. I guess Arch Manning, Dante Moore, Julian Sayin. Okay, we gotta know who are just. Oh, Mensa. I think Mensa might be a riser this year, chat. We might have to pause. We may have to keep an eye on Mensa for sure. Drew Mestamaker over. that's a name right there. But he had some good numbers at OK State. Good touchdown to interception ratio, 34-9. It's not bad. There probably will be some guy that we just from out of nowhere. They're just like, okay, he might be a first round pick as well too. But again, will like Sayin be the 3rd overall pick this year? But Sayin, he's fine. The same with Dante Moore as well too. Again, you assume that he'll be super productive there. Arch Manning as the number 1 overall pick, but again, the quarterback class I guess is not like definite this year as well. You know, you're going to end up with like Jeremiah Smith and Marvin Harrison Jr. as a receiving core going in 2027 if you have the number 1 overall pick. But maybe a couple of Ohio State receivers, or maybe, you know, Jeremiah Smith replacing Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't know, you know, a little trade situation there. But and who I guess Jalen Brooks was the guy that just made he was the guy that made the catch down the field. So that we were talking about earlier. He had 3 for 99. Reggie Virgil, Harrison Wallace the third. I mean, Chad, I don't even know where where these guys played college. I guess, you know, Carolina does have some names that we do know. Okay, this is good. Jimmy Horn Jr. and John Mechie. Shout out to Mechie. You know, getting out there and playing. Obviously, Jimmy Horn, you know, out there with Shedeur Sanders in Colorado. You know, I don't think Jimmy Horn got his jersey retired, but he did have a very, very good career there as the number 2 option next to Travis Hunter, especially for that one season. And I think he maybe kind of took over the number 1 role as well after he left. But I don't know what this receiving core is that Arizona put together. I guess maybe Jalen Brooks is seeming a little familiar. Let's see if we can figure out where he went to college at. South Carolina. Okay, I guess, you know, we can't say that we sat down and watched a ton of South Carolina. Obviously Sellers, you know, was a big star for him this year, a big name value player, you know, on the roster, and, you know, a little bit more of a two-way guy as well too, in terms of, you know, some ground game for him there. So, you know, he can run up a lot of offense with maybe, you know, not necessarily focusing on a receiver too much. But I guess Xavier Weaver maybe as well too. Where did he go to school at, Chad? Yeah, we have to double check. Oh, he also went to Colorado. Okay, I guess, yeah, maybe that is familiar. Not as familiar as Jimmy Horn's game, obviously, but, you know, Harrison Wallace the third. I don't know, Chad. We got to figure out number 300. Is that real? Do we have to check that out there? Was he actually number 300? Okay, this might be the first ever AI player in a preseason game. Let's see what we've got here. The player page is not even loading for him, Chad. Hey, yo, it doesn't exist. Okay, shout out to Harrison Wallace. No disrespect, but we're just trying to. Now this has turned into a you know, like a investigation film. It's like a 70s crime thriller. Hey, yo, the disappearance of Harrison Wallace III. Okay, oh, boom. Okay, there we go. There he is. Ole Miss. Oh, okay, so that is, you know, that's a pretty prominent school there. We've heard of it for sure. Again, you know, we know the quarterback as well for sure. Obviously, Chambliss, who we just said. Blitnikoff Award preseason watch list. I guess, you know, go back and double check the stats. But, you know, shout out, obviously, you know, getting out there productive for the preseason game for Arizona. But, you know, again, at least there's some building blocks here for something. And I guess maybe Washington, you know, maybe, you know, again, who knows? You know, the Seattle Kansas City run is not ideal. Dallas, Seattle, Rams, Kansas City. I mean, Carson Beck, I mean, throw him in the limelight. Hey, I mean, this is a crazy primetime run. We've got him playing every major team in the league here in the middle of the season. They go Rams, Denver, Cowboys, Seahawks, Rams, Chiefs, and, you know, Washington and Philly as well too. And I guess even New York, you know, is a big market team, obviously. But I guess, you know, if it was that week 8 at Dallas game, I mean, that wouldn't be. I guess you got 2 on the road games, so maybe week 10 at home versus LA. His first game ever is gonna be Myles Garrett and Aaron Donald at the peak of their powers, just in the middle of the season in full form. But a couple of weeks, you know, like the next couple of weeks is when they'll start maybe managing for the playoffs. But this is like, okay, we're still really gunning for the regular season here. So just throw Carson Beck out there, I guess. So maybe, you know, then it gets like at Kansas City week 11. So I guess, you know, Washington week 12. If he's not taking over, was there a New York game here early? I guess at New York week 4 would be the one where it's like, okay, Brissett just got murdered in these first 3 games. You know, obviously the Seattle defensive line just was like, okay, game 2 after the Super Bowl. Maybe they showed up a little weak for game 1. We have something to prove for game 2. Arizona, our rival. Let's just bash them in and just, you know, wreck them for a game. Jacoby Brissett's gonna have like 30 sacks in one week. And then at San Francisco, and at San Francisco as well too. So, oh, Chad, I mean, I hate to say it. I guess he's not gonna be playing on the San Francisco practice field, but that San Francisco field, I guess in New York a little is the same. So what probably happens is Jacoby Brissett's gonna get hurt on one of these 2 fields. Is what it's gonna be. First quarter in MetLife Stadium, Jacoby Brissett's like, oh, the turf claims another knee there in New York, and then, you know, Carson Beck has to wander out and play the rest of the season. Because I guess Detroit could be interesting. Obviously, again, you go, oh, that's just brutal. That's just brutal. You have Aiden Hutchinson, Myles Garrett, Nick Benito, And then, Seattle in week 9, Myles Garrett again in week 10, Chris Jones and who's Karlaftis in week 11, and then, finally week 12 against Washington. Maybe it lets up a little bit on the pass rush there. But yeah, there's not going to be a lot of room for. So Carson Beck better, he better enjoy these preseason moments, Chad. Hey, he better enjoy just cooking up the old Panthers defense in preseason. Because man, oh man, I didn't realize Arizona had the toughest schedule in the league. We can check that here on the Tankathon. And again, it obviously looking through the prism of certain rosters that does make it, that does make it look different. But yeah, it does literally say here on Tankathon that Arizona is number 1 in the league in toughest schedule. So, and again, Arizona, Miami at number 2. Again, Miami's also not very good. So no disrespect, but again, it looks different because it's Miami's schedule. But the Rams, so yeah, and the NFC West is going to be tough because all those teams are going to have to play each other multiple times. So that's going to be brutal. But you also have the Raiders here with the top 6 schedule as well too. So, again, you got to let Cousins you got to sacrifice Cousins for the first couple of seasons. Hey, it is what it is. Midsommar, chat, just put Cousins in the bear costume and just send him out there for the first couple of weeks. Hey, And then Mendoza's, I guess you don't. We don't play football in May. If you're a May quarterback, that's probably not a good thing. But then he'd be the next quarterback, I guess, after that. But yeah, I got shout out to Carson Beck. We'll see what happens for his starts this year. But I assume he'll start more games than Jacoby Brissett. And who knows? Maybe I'm only saying that because he had a super efficient game against Carolina. But again, he is a decent, like we're saying, a decent draft take for like a decent draft shot. So at some point you would want to at least take a glimpse, of what your quarterback prospect is. I guess, like New Orleans has been maybe like we were saying with Spencer Rattler, but like Tyler Slaw a little bit. I don't know. Am I saying his last Tyler? What's his last name, Ted? Tyler, our guy Coleslaw. Hey, do we just call him Cole? I guess his parents should have just named him Cole, Chad. That'd have been crazy. Does he have a brother? He has to have a brother named Cole. He could have a brother named Coleslaw, but I think it might be. I think it's Shuck. It's spelled SLUSHLUGH, but it's Shuck. I don't know how that works, but I have to see what state he's from where I was pronouncing that. But Shuck, I guess if Carson Beck was like a Tyler Shuck level quarterback, which I did see him ranked in like top 20 in some fantasy rankings. Speaking of peeking at the ESPN while at work, I was like, oh, Tyler Shuck, 17th quarterback in the fantasy, seems pretty good. But yeah, again, and I guess they're showing some highlights as well too from a Carson Beck Haynes King matchup in college, and that's what was making me again, I guess. The Rem and Sam pod takes on the Pat McAfee show, calls them out for their headlines. Obviously, again, it is a thing to get me to glance up to the TV and be like, wait a second, they just had the greatest Hall of Fame game ever. Because, again, you might not be as locked into that game, but, you're still going to talk about it on a sports show. But, again, for the matchup hype of it all, like the matchup itself, with we like I'm saying, we just don't know the level of quarterback talent yet for this game. Like we do know Mitchell Trubisky's a multiple-time Pro Bowler, and I guess whatever other matchups we've had in the backup in the other Hall of Fame games as well too. And I guess technically Kenny Pickett did start this game for Carolina, which I don't want to be mean to Kenny Pickett, but it is just incredible. Like Kenny Pickett, just again, speaking of guys that can find their way, in a roster spot, talking about like Jacoby Brissett and Ryan Fitzpatrick, like Kenny Pickett is the opposite of that. Kenny Pickett will always find a way to be the third quarterback on a roster. I don't know how it happens, but he will always find a way. And again, Hayes King could actually be really good as well too. The Colts have Riley Leonard right now as their backup for Daniel Jones, if I'm not mistaken. I have to go double check. Do we have another backup? But Riley Leonard, maybe Hayes King's like a Riley Leonard type. He just hits a guy on an out route, Mechie on an out route here for a first down. So that's definitely like a Riley Leonard type throw. A lot of throws to the sideline there. You're not necessarily trying to, get risky defender passes, and then also mobile as well too. So you can kind of run a little bit of an option game there with him. So maybe the sneaky quarterback controversy. I guess it wouldn't be a controversy. Would be like Bryce Young versus Haynes King, but it would be like a what if Bryce Young did miss like a couple weeks and Hayes King's was 3-1 in the 4 weeks that Bryce Young was out, and they're like, you know what? Maybe we just have to keep going with Hayes King until he just starts losing here. as well. And, again, this might be a very schedule thing, but I guess Carolina, 18th schedule in the league here. So, not necessarily too crazy. Obviously, again, the NFC South is going to be their, the thing that helps them out there with sort of getting some of the easier opponents. But it's just like a high level ACC matchup here for the Hall of Fame game. It's like an ACC matchup with less passionate fans is basically what we saw. But again, shout out. Obviously, Hayes King was good, and he was a sneaky like Heisman-esque guy. I don't know if did he actually get Heisman votes? I don't know if he did, but if we were doing like a MVP scale in college football last year for just, how much for the team, the guy was actually responsible for, I think he would have actually have been pretty high up on that list. Is it Hayes or Haynes King? It might be Haynes King. Let's see what we get here. Oh yeah, we are missing a letter. Yeah, he was 10th in Heisman voting last year. And that honestly, that seems about right. So, yeah, little Diego Pavia light for our guy Hayes Kings. I think that comparison might have been made. But, yeah, I think that would have made sense. Like a second team All-NBA guy last year in college football. He was definitely one of the 10 best guys. So, it makes sense. Like if Hayes Kings has like a very productive, preseason, that would, not be unlikely. 14 touchdowns to 6 picks in college last year. Again, 2,900 yards. So there is that little bit of reliance on the ground game there that does help bring up the overall game. But yeah, like Gunnar Stockton was 7th in Heisman voting last year. Like I guess Trinidad Chambliss at 8th again, and he had a really great playoff as well too. But 22 touchdowns, 3 picks. Like he was just very efficient the entire season. Like maybe Hayes King and Gunnar Stockton, you could make a little bit of a debate there. Like if Hayes King was on Georgia, like is there just a gutsiness that Hayes Kings has? I don't know, but again, I mean, like we're saying, a worthy swing there to see what you have. Obviously, Bryce Young, fortunately for him, is off of his best season of his career, so he is a little bit more set in stone there as the starter, for going into this season. And it's not like is Hayes King going to take over the job for the next 10 years in Carolina after Bryce Young, but I just say there is a. It's not like it's not a quarterback controversy, but it's on the quarterback controversy watch list for once we get into the season. Like I don't know what our other spots are for there because again, like it seems like some of these other ones with the older younger guy combo boss, like it is just waiting for that draft pick to kind of take over that veteran spot. But Bryce Young's your guy you traded up for a couple years ago, and he's got to be up near a contract extension here as well too. So that would be like the sneaky thing would be like, okay, could we buy a season or two with Hayes King while we try to reset the Bryce Young situation? Maybe we don't want to commit whatever to Bryce Young. And, maybe Bryce Young's smart, maybe again, there's like there's something that's kind of worked out there for both sides. But, again, obviously, he is a name to watch as well. I guess, Indy I guess we would have to kind of put the Colts on that a little bit as well too. Again, not necessarily like, is Daniel Jones gonna get replaced? He's only like a 2-year contract right now for Indy. So, again, it's not like the franchise future is in Daniel Jones' hands. It's just sort of the immediate sense of it. But Easton Stick. Hey, we also have Easton Stick, who somehow is 30. I feel like Easton Stick just got drafted a little while ago, but I guess I'm wrong. 2019 draft. So I guess maybe he did just get drafted a little bit later as well too. Who's to say? But shout out, still sticking around in the NFL. Anthony Richardson, still only 24 as well too. But even 24 now, it's like Anthony Richardson's like older than draft players. There was a time there when it was like he's still younger than some of the guys getting drafted. It's like, Anthony Richardson's still 22. It could happen. And now it's just like, time's going by. I don't know what's gonna happen there with the Anthony Richardson career. But he's still on the team, so at least for him being a Colts quarterback, the era is still around. Anyways, the Anthony Richardson era still exists. But, it's like, okay, maybe there is another scenario again where like Riley Leonard's the starter for the last 4 games for Indy. That might be a bad one as well too. Like Steichen gets canned and then, teams getting reset or somebody's like, okay, let's go for Arch Manning and then see what happens. But yeah, we'll keep an eye. And we do like Bryce Young. We do like the Carolina situation. But, you can't deny, obviously, hey, you can't deny what Hayes King was doing in a preseason game. So, just something to look out for there as well too. Again, I guess like Minnesota wouldn't be in that because it's already in a quarterback controversy in a sense. So it's like if Kyler Murray wins the job but then struggles and they have to go to McCarthy, it's like, okay, that's just an extension of, what we were seeing in the preseason. So, nothing crazy there. I guess like would Atlanta have somebody behind Penix or something that we're not worried about? I guess, like Ty Simpson over Stafford, that'd be like the ultimate Brady Bledsoe version of it. Because Stafford, of course, literally is the league MVP. Like Bledsoe never quite got to that level. Of course, he did get to the Super Bowl with the Patriots, if I'm not mistaken. Did they lose to I want to say it was to the Packers. Because I don't think Bledsoe was the quarterback in 85 when they lost to the Bears. But I want to say that they lost to the Packers, late 90s there, Favre winning his Super Bowl. And then, I guess, one-time Super Bowl champion. Who did he win that with? I guess, was that just being on a New England team? And also, he did win a Super Bowl with the Patriots, I guess. Yeah, in 2001, 10 for 21 in the playoffs and a touchdown. So he was, he was contributing. Shout out. But, 93, he was the quarterback there for Cleveland. So 96 would have been the year that they went to the Super Bowl. So his 4th season. And I guess, never did kind of get on the MVP ballot as well, too. So never kind of, ascended quite to those levels. But 44,000 pass yards. Very Derek Carr-esque. But again, even Derek Carr got 3rd MVP voting 1 year as well, too. But 1st overall pick by the Patriots in 93. And again, obviously led to Brady. It's the same. His middle name's McQueen. Hey, Steve McQueen. Drew Steve McQueen Bledsoe. What a name there. I guess his parents, big fans. But, again, for, if Ty Simpson's just taking over for Stafford in year 1, that'd be a little shocking, I guess, if we're being honest. I don't know if the Bengals have a backup. I guess Stroud in Houston. I guess who did the Chiefs just brought in somebody? Not the Mahomes controversy. Who did they just bring in though? It was like okay, I guess if he has to start a couple of games there, that could be interesting. If Mahomes is not ready by week 1, but it does seem like Mahomes is gonna be out there. Oh, Fields, that's right, Justin Fields. Hey, what a backup, chat. I forgot about that. Are we gonna see some Justin Fields preseason games with Andy Reid? Ooh, maybe that's some trade bait as well too, because if I gotta be honest, like Chris Olakondu, like I don't think he's been bad as a backup. Somehow Olakondu is older than Fields. I don't know if that works as well too. Maybe he's kind of in the, in the Easton Stick lane where, a little older draft. The Pro Football Reference, not a fan of Olakondu's game. 41.4 grade AAO, but again, there is, as a backup. Like, he's fine. Maybe he's more of a 3rd QB. I don't know. But, they also have Nussmeier as well, too. Chad, are the Chiefs worried about Mahomes? Hey, And I guess we did see him throwing a pick in that one training camp video. So do we have to, next time we call Sam, Chad, hey, we're going to have to ask him. We'd be like, what is the Mahomes trade at this point? Again, not to say, like, do you want to trade Mahomes? But it's just like, okay, if again, pull up Tankathon, if Miami was just like, we'll give you, 3 first-round picks and, whatever bundle of players to bring in Mahomes, again, is there a conversation to be had there? I guess not. We're putting a little bit too much stock in, Garrett Nussmeier's game, probably a little bit. But, again, that is a guy that, here's a guy, but that is a guy that was in that first round conversation at some point in his career. So it's not nothing to say like, oh, again, Garrett Nussmeier being a starter in the NFL is going to be too crazy. Like New Orleans, chat? Hey, New Orleans at 8. What if the Raiders just, I guess if you're trading Mendoza, that kind of eliminates the Nussmeier point of it. Cleveland? Ooh, chat, Cleveland. Like, we'll give you Shador and the number 1 pick and, multiple stuff for Mahomes there. And then a Shador, Sanders, Garrett Nussmeier, Justin Fields battle. And again, Justin Fields might be like the number 1 name value player in history. And that might be for me as well too, where, I'm like mentally every time I see his name on the page, I'm like, oh, they're good. Like that team has their quarterback. Justin Fields, they're fine. They have a, good starter. Justin Fields, he can get to the play. Like obviously Justin Fields is good. But then, obviously, you watch the games. No, that's not what we're saying. Again, like you watch the games. Like Justin Fields is good when you watch the games. It's just something doesn't quite add up there. So the win total has never quite matched the way that again maybe mentally we've assigned the wins and the value the quarterback impact to the team there. But maybe like the Jets as well. New York, they want to make that would be a very Jets move, bringing in like an aging Mahomes to save the franchise. I could see either this because I guess the Saints don't necessarily get like the big market title, obviously like a New York team, Philly, LA type of thing. But there is I think there is like a thing that New Orleans has where maybe and I guess they're not like they don't spend like the Saints or spend like the Rams as well too. But still, I don't think they would be totally against that. I don't know. But then you have Pittsburgh right there at 9 as well too. Just again, looking at the tankathon projections for who could be, the lower end teams this year. Carolina, we know they'll make a move for a quarterback, obviously. So, and again, a lot of these teams, if the move was there, but that would be interesting. Mahomes to Pittsburgh. I guess that doesn't necessarily like excite me too much as like a team combo situation. I guess Pittsburgh has always had good receivers, good history of defenders, so it would be obviously, good franchise for him. But like Pittsburgh needs Pat. They don't need Pat Mahomes. They have Terry Bradshaw. They have Ben Roethlisberger. They got guys. But then I guess some of these down the field catches by these Cardinals receivers. Hey, is this another one? Was that a 4th down bomb? Was that Virgil who we were shouting out a little bit earlier? But I guess Atlanta as well too. Any of these 7, 8, 9 teams here could be interesting. Atlanta, New Orleans, or Pittsburgh. Chat. Hey, I didn't think in August of 2026 we'd be doing early Mahomes trade watch list or Mahomes watch list. We got to be careful because Pattinson did just drop that trailer where Pattinson's playing Chris Hansen in that one movie. So I guess we can't just like throw out watch list right now for, a lot of things. We kind of have to be specific, but trading quarterback watch list, does Mahomes on it? He's not the number one guy. Well, he is the number one guy if you can trade for him, but he's not the number one guy, on the list. Hey, do we need like a Chris Hansen trade situation where like Chris Hansen like shows up to the locker room and he's like, I know how he shows up to the locker room with like 3 first-round picks and he's like, I know how this looks, but you're going to really love it. And, you're going to love it in Atlanta or, you're going to love it playing for the Saints. Don't worry. Or, oh, don't worry. Mike McCarthy is actually a good quarterback coach. I know how this looks. Mike McCarthy is your new coach, but trust me, it's going to be fine. I don't know if, we need like an SNL, NFL trade Chris Hansen situation. I don't know if that's, I don't know how the NFL would feel about that, but yeah, again, maybe there is I don't know. We need to workshop that a little bit, chat. It is what it is. It is what we have to try. We have to try to extract the comedy out of this situation. I don't know, but what are we saying for the and the trading Mahomes? I mean, that's also not very funny, I guess, for Chiefs fans there. But you got Justin Fields and Garrett Nussmeier. I mean, come on. If I was gonna say if the Jets had Justin Fields and Garrett Nussmeier, they'd be fine. But they had Justin Fields a couple years ago and they weren't. So, obviously that's not right. But, and then, Olacondu, much better as your 4th quarterback, I guess, than your 2nd. But still, I guess so easily the best quarterback room in the league. If anything, the Chiefs have the best quarterback room in the league. Then maybe, the Allen thing, it's like, I don't know, Mahomes fans still can obviously step up and defend Mahomes over Allen. That's not a hot take. But, Allen's had a really couple of strong seasons here to just be the instant sort of number one guy in the power rankings. But Chiefs fans, now you can say that your quarterback room is better than Buffalo's quarterback room because I don't know, does Buffalo have 4 quarterbacks as good as Kansas City? We'll see here. Maybe they still have Trubisky, but I don't know. Is Trubisky the 3rd best quarterback in Kansas City now? So it's Josh Allen, Shane Buechele, who I think is a Chiefs backup quarterback, and then Kyle Allen as well too. So 2 Allens. I don't know about that. But Buechele, that is interesting, chat. I don't know. Have we ever thought about that? Get the rival team's backup quarterback in there. I mean, who else knows the playbook better than a quarterback? Oh, no, he's only been 1 year in the league. Or was it last year that he played? Oh, there is a Kansas City jersey here. Okay, yeah. He started a game. Started 1 game and went 7 for 14. So, again, you're not bringing him in to, take over Josh Allen's job, but he did game plan an entire game as the starting quarterback for Kansas City. So, and, again, maybe Buffalo's not like sitting here as worried about the Kansas City personnel of it, but that is still probably the one franchise name that does, obviously stick in the back of your mind a little bit. Pause. I'm not saying, doesn't worry Buffalo. And I guess Buffalo is in a transitional year as well, too. They have no McDermott, just seeing what the new system is going to look like there and what the adjustments could be. And I think maybe they've had a little turnover on defense as well. But, again, they're not, as much as the Ravens might be like a better roster or the Patriots might be like a better roster, I don't think Buffalo is still looking at the Patriots with the same sort of, again, just obviously the same sort of PTSD that they do the Chiefs. I mean, maybe Josh Allen gets there. Again, maybe Drake May starts to take up that mantle and it's like, okay, who's the next quarterback that can traumatize Josh Allen? But, again, as of right now, it would be Pat Mahomes, even if he doesn't want to admit it. Even if he's like, no, I'm fine. Trust me, I'm not worried about Mahomes at all. I don't, I sleep fine at night. Never have a dream about Mahomes at all. And then, cut to Josh Allen in the middle of the night, just like, Pat Mahomes, and, just scared and having a nightmare. But, again, it is what it is. Like, that's just where the playoff results have been. Drake May has only had that one playoff run so far. So it's just a matter of, building that time. Obviously if Lamar Jackson rips off a couple of wins here against, Josh Allen, then that dynamic shifts. Joe Burrow. I guess Joe Burrow does have the one, but still it's only kind of the one. And, I'm sure that, Josh Allen probably holds that against him more than he does like in fear of Joe Burrow. And again, I'm not saying, again, Josh Allen's not, scared of Pat Mahomes, but again, that just as a franchise organizational thing, that would be, again, the one sort of obstacle here from the last couple of years that you would have to, continue to get over if you were trying to, make that push through the AFC. But, having that backup is an interesting strategic move. Again, I don't know about Kyle Allen as your second quarterback. I would rather have Justin Fields as the second quarterback. And, again, Garrett Nussmeier, like, there was a starter conversation for him there at one point. They do have DJ Moore as well, so that's a good get. And we are, like we said, over the next couple of episodes as we continue to get back into the NFL mode here as well too. Going through the rosters, updating, trying to remember exactly where we stand with a lot of this stuff as well too. I guess our note taking throughout the season was obviously a little lackluster. We're gonna do the the rush study session here. Do we call it a cram session? Hey, yo, pause. But the rushed, like we're saying, prepare for the NFL season and fantasy as well too. I haven't even joined the fantasy league link that we've been sent at this point, but I do have to think of a name as well. We haven't. I guess maybe I've thought of the name after we've drafted, but the last couple of years we've gone with like an album title pun. So I've got to kind of think of what that is, which I guess now that I say it, maybe we go with Big Pun. Hey, yo, obviously he had Capital Punishment, but did he have another one? Rest in peace, of course, to the legend. Obviously, gone too soon. But was there a posthumous there as well too? I guess Capital Punishment, we're going to have to draft a guy. Pun, is there an NFL guy named Pun? We'll have to see here what is all in the discography. Yeah, Baby is the second one, which was debuted at number 3. Ayo, shout out. But on Billboard. But yeah, obviously Capital Punishment is the main one. And I guess we also do have Watch the Throne as the the anniversary album tonight. Shout out to Capital Punishment though. But maybe there is a Watch the Throne, a Reasonable Doubt as well too. Again, I don't know who we have drafted yet. So I don't know what we're going to go with for the album title. Let me see what we got here. Oh, I guess we could go R&B. I didn't think about R&B. Hey, yo, the 112. Maybe something there. I guess, okay. Our playlist that we're going through is sorted by, alphabetical, so you get the numbers. We already did a 50 Cent. We used Get Rich, Die Tryin' last year in honor of Anthony Richardson. So maybe a lot of Die Tryin'. But so 50 Cent, not to double back. I guess, should to keep in line the massacre, Anthony Richardson's career. But, again, I guess, maybe we go with a different artist. Sir Lucius Left Foot maybe could be something potentially. Life After Death? Life After Daniel Jones? No, that doesn't have quite the nice ring to it. but there could be a life after death situation. We did use a Tupac album a couple of years ago. DM us at Rem and Sam Pod, your best album themed fantasy names for, I guess, 2026 or general. I mean, again, you could just be like, oh, name your team Iceman. It's like, okay, I guess because that is Caleb Williams' nickname. So you could just like, oh, if I'm a Bears fan, go Iceman. But it's more like, obviously, like we're saying, trying to be clever. Be clever, chat. Hey, I am the drama. Cardi B. I am the John Mechie. I guess, we're stuck on the pause on the Hall of Fame game players that we just watched here. What other albums dropped this year? Don't Be Dumb, ASAP Rocky, Octane. Is there an Octane, situation? Maybe a Hardstone. Ooh, maybe there is a Hardstone Psycho though. Hardstone Psycho. Jonathan Taylor. I don't think has a Quentin Nelson. Hardstone Psycho Quentin Nelson. No, that doesn't have a ring to it. Anyway, we'll think of it. We've gotten good ones the last 2 years, so we'll think of it as well too. And again, obviously having the team and drafting the player, because 2 years ago, I guess our team name was All Eyes on Brees. I didn't know it was going to be that until we had Brees Hall, which didn't work out. But it worked out better for the team name than it did for the actual fantasy team. So, draft a first round value for either actually playing well on the field or being able to name your team after him, I guess could be it. Oh, is it a DaBaby album? I accidentally just clicked on a DaBaby song as well too. Or D'Angelo. Oh, could it be DaBaby or D'Angelo? Either one. But I guess is there like a brown sugar situation? I don't know. Maybe we have to workshop that. We're going with a different D'Angelo album. I don't know. No Way Out. Maybe go back to the playlist and see who's in here. But a Dipset as well too. It could be a Dipset. What's this one? I forget what's it. Oh, Diplomat chat. Hey, just retire me now. Diplomatic Immunity. Hey, yo. DJ Khaled potential as well too. God did. Ooh, chat. Hey, yo. I guess we have to see who our player that we draft is that could be the pun there. But and I guess go back through DJ Khaled's entire discography. It's what's the DMX one, chat, again? We can't remember album names here as well too. It's Dark and Hell is Hot. So maybe there is one there as well too. I guess it's oh, chat, it's a post route and Jamar Chase is gone. I don't know. Again, we have to we'll think of one. We'll think of one. Obviously, maybe not workshop it. And again, you only need one title. So we're not showing you the list of scrapped names that we've gone through in the past. Is there an Alligator Bites Never Heal situation? Alligator, Chad. What NFL player's name rhymes with alligator? Hey, yo, Carson Becca Gator Bites Never Heal. I guess Miami Hurricanes. Oh, close. The Florida Gators, not quite, but. Oh, I guess Anthony Richardson was Florida Gators. Oh, we're going back to Anthony Richardson for team name, chat. It might be the last year we can do it while he's on the Colts. Hey, yo. But, chat, Anthony Richardson. Oh, no, I don't think we can do that. Hey, yo, that might be a pause. But, Anthony and Alligator, at least name rhyming wise, we're getting closer there. But, I don't know. We're not, it's not hitting us, the same way it did the last couple of years as easily, I guess. But like we said, we'll have to report back and see some sexy songs for you. For all the dogs, that could be an easy one to try to rig in there and see. For all the defensive linemen. Hey, yo. For all the Donalds. I guess you don't draft defensive. The one position you don't draft in fantasy. Hey, yo. Drew Picasso? Oh, we could go with the song title as well, too. Her Loss. Honestly, never mind. I guess we're in the Drake section of the playlist right now. It is what it is. Oh, Benny the Butcher. We could go like a sneaky Griselda route. Interesting. Could be. I guess interesting is not a title. What does he have? When Tony met Sosa? I guess we could just draft a guy named Tony as well too. We're taking Kadarius Toney. Is there a Sosa? Kadarius? Hey, I don't even know how to say his name right now after I said Kadarius. Kadarius? I think it's just Kadarius Toney. Hey, yo. But so I guess there is no Sosa right now in the NFL. That's tough. How is there nobody named Sosa in the NFL? Hey, yo, NFL parents, get on that. Somebody have a kid named Sosa and get him in the NFL. Hey, yo, can we get a can we pitch that to Sosa, a Sosa come out, Sosa Mar. I guess we'll have to see who we can get out there as like it is more of it can be technically more of a last name. Obviously, the great Sammy Sosa, but or obviously Sosa from Scarface as well too. But again, from it could be a first name. It definitely could be a first name. I mean, Tony and Montana are both first names for sure. I guess Montana is a last name. The two Montanas, in popular culture that we know of, Tony and Hannah, both use Montana as the last name there. But and is there some kind of do we need to like go do like a Hollywood 23andMe? Oh, chat. I think we just thought of a new show. Hollywood 23andMe. Do we need to like do the investigative lineage between fictional characters and see if there is an overlap there? Is there any relationship between the two? Is there any relationship between Tony Montana and Hannah Montana? I guess it would be tough because unfortunately the Montana bloodline takes a bit of a loss there at the end of that movie. Spoiler alert for Scarface if you haven't seen it. But he does again, obviously the Montana last name, but if Hannah Montana was in for some reason like his sister's, genealogy, if I'm saying it right there, but if it was like through the sister's family tree, obviously it would be more like her claiming the Montana family name than maybe her necessarily inheriting it from birth. And I guess I haven't seen the show as much as well too as Hannah Montana's her artist name, but is it also her name in real? So is that a name that she makes up for herself? Montana's not her birth given name, I don't think. So is she name herself after Tony Montana? Maybe Hannah Montana's cooler than we thought. I don't know. She's like, oh, what am I gonna name myself after? Tony Montana. We're just gonna, rip through the whole industry. But and make no mistake, I mean, Hannah Montana was, really tearing up the game, kind of like Tony Montana was there for a while. Moving product for sure, about the same level that it was. I mean, the Hannah Montana merch was everywhere. I tell you what, the two great product salesmen of our time as well too, Tony and Hannah Montana. Hey, yo, both of them also kind of, very party in the USA, fans of that as well too. Obviously, Tony Montana more a lifestyle and Hannah more of a, more of a song title. But yeah, yo, people don't think about that, but there is again Hollywood 23andMe. Our first ever episode are Tony Montana and Hannah Montana related. I can't think of any other iconic, and that is Montana is a bit of a off the kilter last name that it's not like as every movie character ever with the last name Smith related or something like that. It's like, okay, every pause, every Johnson ever related is a bit of a pause, but it's like every movie Johnson is also a pause, chat. Hey, yo. But and maybe there are more actors named Johnson than there are movie characters named Johnson as well too. Or like Steve Rogers, like they're like there's got to be a couple. Ooh, is Steve Rogers related to Mr. Rogers? There might be a connection there. Both super nice guys, very morally pure, maybe kind of a sneaky dark side. Tom Hanks could play both. I don't know. Could Tom Hanks play Rogers, Steve Rogers? Again, Hollywood 23andMe. There's all kinds of relationships out there that I guess we could, see what is going on. I was trying to look over to the DVD stack for a clue for some more, but now I'm just thinking of the real names. And the problem is I mean I do like learning character names when the character names are cool, but I do also just like thinking of the actual people in the movie. So I just like thinking like, oh yeah, Denzel and Jodie Foster trying to stop Clive Owen from breaking into a bank. Like I don't even know what Clive Owen's name is in Inside Man, or honestly Jodie Foster's, or Denzel's. Hey yo, or Christopher Plummer's. I don't know. The only Denzel names that we know honestly are like, let me think. I guess he plays Malcolm X. He plays Alonzo in Training Day. He plays, and then like who else? Name another Denzel character again. It's just Denzel. Denzel's just in Man on Fire. Denzel's in Deja Vu. Denzel's in Fences. Oh, his name is Troy. I think his name, or his kid's name Troy. Maybe his kid's a junior in Fences. But again, just like Denzel's in Fences. Then again, obviously Malcolm X is like the one big biopic that he did as well too. So in terms of him playing like real characters in some way, having the name association there. Again, most of them are associated with Denzel. And again, obviously that character from a movie perspective, the Denzel portrayal of that is number one. But again, obviously, the legendary, man in his own right as well too. Obviously, rest in peace, one of the greats. But again, for Denzel character names, and I was just talking to somebody about Man on Fire as well too, because they were telling me that they watched the show, and it, hey, hot take, it sounded pretty interesting. But again, I was like, I don't, what's Denzel's name in that? I don't even. I guess like what's his name in Crimson Tide, as well. I don't know, but again, we don't know anybody's name, and I guess a lot of it now is franchises as well too. So once like Dominic Toretto, it's like, well, Dominic Toretto's just in every movie now every year. So once you learn one name, you're good to go for the next decade. You don't have to learn another name. But even with the actors, it is crazy. I guess like, and maybe the names were just better in the 80s as well too. But like, Eddie Murphy, like he plays Axel Foley, and then I guess Buddy Love in The Nutty Professor. But like, what's his name in Trading Places as well? Or I guess his what is he Prince? Is it Prince Hakeem in Coming to America? I guess maybe again maybe just more iconic name in the 80s. I'm not sure. But and I guess what was Denzel's name in Mo Better Blues? I feel like that might be sneaky, like the best Denzel named character that he's had. Is it like Gillum Bleak or something like that? Let's see what he. I guess Minefield Bleak Gillum. I guess maybe you're getting the name backwards there. Yeah, Bleak Gillum. So I guess Wesley Snipes as Shadow Henderson. Shout out. But yeah, Bleak Gillum might be like his, kind of most like his name that has like a ring to it in some ways. But again, I guess let's go back to the Denzel filmography and think what were his character names as well too. And he might be the one guy that might be like so iconic that again he just like outdoes his characters. Like you specifically go to watch the movies to like just watch Denzel be in that scenario. You're like, oh, let me watch Denzel. Again, you want to watch him be Alonzo, but outside of that, you're not. Let me watch him be the guy from Man on Fire. You're just like, I want to watch Denzel get revenge on all these guys. And you're like, oh, wait a second, that's right, Denzel's acting. But or like, yeah, what's Denzel's name in Glory or something like that? Well, okay, so Reuben James, Arnold Billings in Power. Okay, we're starting from the beginning. Napoleon Stone in Hard Condition. That's a pretty good one. Silas Tripp, Private Silas Tripp, and again, the 80s had better names. It is what it is. Reuben James, the Mighty Quinn, Xavier Quinn, Reuben James, Xavier Quinn, Silas Tripp, Napoleon Stone, Bleak Gillum, Demetrius Williams, Nick Stiles. I guess we're kind of just going back to normal names there a little bit. Obviously, again, the portrayal of Malcolm X, Don Pedro of Oregon in 93, Gary Grantham. Yeah, and then look at that. The 90s, immediately Joel Miller, Ron Hunter. Like his name's Ron Hunter in Crimson Tide. Parker Barnes in Virtuosity. Easy Rollins, Devil in a Blue Dress. I was gonna mention that one as well too. That because that's a little bit in that same line. Obviously, Spike did Mo Better Blues. Is it Carl Franklin did Devil in a Blue Dress? And then I think they did Carl Franklin, and then they did Out of Time together as well too. So there is a little bit of the get back into the 80s vibe. Easy Rollins is a good name, the noir throwback. But outside of that, immediately just gets boring. After Don Pedro of Aragon, Gary Grantham, Joel Miller, Ron Hunter, Parker Barnes, Nathaniel Stirring, just Dudley in The Preacher's Wife, but he's Angel there as well too. So maybe, angels don't have last names for identity's sake. Detective John Hobbs. So he plays Commander. He goes from playing Napoleon Stone in Bleak Gillum in 1990. Maybe the single best actor name that anybody's ever year that anybody's ever had. Napoleon Stone might be the best character name that anybody's ever had. And then he goes, I guess Jake Shuttlesworth is pretty good as well too. But then he goes John Hobbs and Ron Hunter is on the other end of that. It's pretty boring. I forgot his name was John Hobbs in The Fallen. What is he, Buddy's dad and Elf? Hey, maybe his name is Hobbs in that. I'm not sure. Lincoln Rhyme in The Bone Collector. That's not, Lincoln Rhyme's not bad, but that is starting to get into a little bit of like some Hollywood. There is like some Hollywood corniness there. Herman Boone's pretty good. Herman Boone's just like a classic name, but I guess that's a real guy as well. Also, Herman Boone is also his other, I guess, what do you say, real life portrayal. I guess maybe Easy Rollins as well. No, fictional character. Okay, just gets his own Wikipedia page though. as well. I guess there maybe could be some other Courage Under Fire. I guess is Colonel Nathaniel Serling, is he real? I guess I have to go back and double check. What's based on a true story, what's not. But or no, maybe I'm thinking of Glory. I guess would be more of the war story. Yeah, not Courage Under Fire. Hey, Glory is what I'm thinking of. So maybe Silas Tripp is real as well too. John Q. Jerome Davenport's not bad. Matt Whitlock. Creasy. Honestly, I should have remembered that because Creasy is about as iconic as another name as he gets because he does have that speech where he's like, Creasy, Plumber has, or not Plumber, Christopher Walken. Christopher Plummer could have given the speech, but Christopher Walken does it amazing, of course. And Creasy, a man could be an artist in many things. Creasy's artistry is death, and this is his masterpiece. So his name is kind of attached with that. And then Book of Eli, I should have thought of that one as well too, because that's also in the title there as well. He plays Frank Barnes in Unstoppable. Tobin Frost in Safe House. Whip Whitaker in Flight is pretty good as well. Robert McCall in The Equalizer. Oh, Roman J. Israel Esquire also in the title. He does play Macbeth in Macbeth, so that's another one. And then Macrinius in Gladiator 2. David King in Highest to Lowest. And yeah, The Equalizer is one of those things where it's like once you learn, the name, boom, 3 movies, you're good. You don't need to learn another name. Yeah, Troy Maxim in Fences is what we're looking at here. Melvin B. Tolsom. Oh, I guess also another real guy as well too. The Great Debaters. Oh, and Frank Lucas as well too. I guess but Frank Lucas. Shout out. Borderline fictician. What do you say? The urban legends, I guess, in a sense. Kind of in that sort of mold. But I guess did play some more real life characters than that. But I guess some guys obviously was like Daniel Day playing like Lincoln, and just like let me play every major guy. I guess who's the guy in The Last of the Mohicans? Is that who's the guy that I don't think Last of the Mohicans is that Pocahontas? I don't remember, Chad. Hey, I'll have to go back and watch that. But and then I guess but shout out Arnold Billings is honestly that should have been one he was playing more at the end of his career than at the beginning. Arnold Billings is definitely an old man name. Roger Porter. I guess maybe the late 80s had better names than the early 80s there. First Class Private Melvin Peterson in a soldier's story. So as the career went up, the name value went up as well too. Steve. Oh, and we got another one here as well too. Cry Freedom, I guess. 87 is also a biographical drama as well too. Directed and produced by Richard Attenborough. Okay, shout out. Maybe we'll do the early 80s Denzel run and catch back up. Because, let's be honest. Again, obviously I think, Glory is, the launching point for his career in some ways. But with rewatchability, or not rewatchability, but, for major rewatching, you're starting with Mo Better Blues. And, Mo Better Blues is not even like one that's like, on the major streamers a lot, because make no mistake, we do look for it. Again, it is obviously it's Denzel and Wesley Snipes. It's like the greatest cast of all time, and nobody ever streams this movie for some reason. I'm looking it up again right now because I watched it tonight. Is it free on YouTube? But I have gotten better. Again, I am an old man, so I don't know how to use a phone sometimes. I am gotten better of looking up the movies on the Roku app instead of just IMDb. Chat, welcome to 2026. But let's see if we can find it. Mo Better Blues here. Real quick. Is it on one of these random streaming service apps that we've never heard of before? No, it's not. Somebody get a hold of these rights. Maybe we should. Is this how we start our Rem and Sam Plus? Did we get Rem and Sam Plus with one movie and it's Mo Better Blues? Come on, chat. That'd be great. We can get the Uncle Drew movie, Mo Better Blues. What other random basketball and sports movies can we get? I guess Wesley Snipes. Can we get just like a couple Wesley Snipes movies? If we get the Wesley Snipes trilogy of Wildcats, Mo Better Blues, and White Men Can't Jump. I'll get a couple of sports movies in there. We'll be set. The Woody Harrelson Wesley Snipes pack, and then get the Denzel Wesley Snipes as the bonus. But also that would be the main one as well too. So it'd be like the main one, but with the Woody Harrelson bonus pack, maybe is what we'd look at. And then that's Rem and Sam Plus. And then I don't know, whatever else we've talked about. We get that's right. We said we were gonna get the right to the Bloodsport franchise and reboot that. So Bloodsport 7, maybe wherever the franchise is left off there. I don't know. We get like the Jeeper Creepers or something like that. Get a couple of random IPs that are hanging out there, and then I think there is a lane. I think there's a lane because again, I've looking at some of these, maybe the rights for some of these '50s movies are different than the rights for like '90s and '80s movies, obviously. But you're just like, what are these streaming services? Like, let me look up this one that I was 11 ways. So this one Hitchcock, maybe this one wasn't Hitchcock. Oh yeah, this one is a Hitchcock. Rebecca from 1940. Hey, again, we're just crushing through the summer watch list right now. Shout out, Sir Laurence Olivier, Joan Fontaine. But what are these apps? I mean, Galaxy, Watch and Earn, Drama Classics Channel. This one just says free movies with like an exclamation point and a popcorn bucket behind it. I don't even think it's a real app. But who's it by? Chris, I can't even see who it's by. It looks like they made these titles on Canva. And then it's like free movies plus Filmsy. What is Filmsy? And then Classic Film Time, thousands of movies and TV shows. This one's the best. I mean, let's see if we can show this here real quick. Where it just says free movies with the it's going to be too washed out potentially. But I think it's like this one right here. And can we just look this up? What is this stream? Free movies! Exclamation point. Let me see what we can search up here. Rem and Sam investigates this streaming service. And let's see what we have. I guess Plex, yeah, it's just going to give us all the other ones as well. But, I mean, just look up some old 50s movies on the Roku app and just be like, how do these exist? I don't know. And then there's like 7 more here with the subscription. Nitro.film. What is Nitro.film? Streaming classic cinema. Rediscover television. Retro reels. Real retro. And then Relay. Hey, at least Nitro.film is like, could be a link to something. Let's see here. If it does it take us to a website? Potentially, hopefully one that we can look up here on the pod. Hopefully this does not go bad and the YouTube just shuts us down forever. But we risk it, Chad. I mean, we full send. Oh, look at this, queuing the projector. Boom. So we're gonna get taken down, I guess, for streaming free movies, but handpicked classic. Okay, look at that. I guess you have to pay for it, but an after-hours cinema. So look at this. If these random channels can exist, we can put together Rem and Sam Plus and get Mo Better Blues. I mean, come on, Chad. I mean, I'm almost like disappointed in myself. Like, what are we doing here? How is there not just a place like, oh, Mo Better Blues? Let me just cue that up and watch, Spike Lee and Denzel Washington and Wesley Snipes. Like, come on. The only thing I can think of is like so many people are renting this movie that they're just like, well, I guess we don't even have to, put it up for streaming. Just, we're just making bank on Mo Better Blues. Because again, make no mistake, like, who people are still going to go pay to see? 1990s Denzel and 1990s Wesley Snipes. They're not, those two guys are just, that is just a fact of what those guys are. Those guys will always be box office, which would be another interesting show. Be like, what years of guys are still the most box office? Be like 19, like what year is like Thelma and Louise for Brad Pitt? It's like, you know what movies never, always going to be box offices? People are just always going to watch Brad Pitt in Thelma and Louise. I guess we're saying people, but who's renting these movies, Chad? Hey, we're looking at somebody. But I guess you know what? They're still watching Denzel and Wesley Snipes. And what do we say? Turns out the ladies still like him. Hey, turns out the ladies still like Brad Pitt and Thelma and Louise. It is what it is. So maybe again they're just like, they'll have to rent this movie. But like, I guess would Basic Instinct be the male version of Mo Better Blues, Chat? I don't know if that's the correlation there, but it's like, there are free movies that I feel like, people would rent. People would just be like, oh, I guess I'm renting this one again. But I don't know. Hey, yeah. But yeah, that'll be our summer mission here, I guess, as the football season queues up. Maybe we can start like a random football league. Like we were trying to do like the Big 3 football league. So we get like a 7-on-7 retired NFL league, and then Mo Better Blues, and the Rem and Sam pod. I mean, it's a nice little service, chat. That's not bad, and it's free. We'll make sure it's free. Mo Better Blues. Maybe Mo Better Blues has to be behind a paywall. Shout out, donate to the Denzel family. But again, we'll see what we can do there to acquire those rights and get those queued up for the people. I guess other preseason notes. Well, obviously we don't have other preseason games at this point. There have been some other, like I said, some of the quarterback controversy stuff and whatnot, but we still have, preseason games. Some contracts being signed. I think we just saw like Stephon Diggs maybe signed today was that with Washington? Potentially. Wide receiver Diggs ups claims best number one receiver in my heart. Oh, chat. Has anybody ever said that before? What does that mean? He's like, well, in my heart, I'm the number one. A lot of times like, no, I am the best quarterback, or I am the best receiver in the NFL. But he's like, to my family, they think I'm the best. New Washington Commanders wideout Stephon Diggs basically said he would be the best number two receiver in the NFL. Oh, so what a pitch. He said that wasn't quite accurate. I say 2 on camera, but in my heart, I'm going to say the best number 1. Oh, chat, what a guy. Hey, what a competitor. Hey, I did just watch this clip of Belichick talking to Wes Welker, and it's like Edelman returns this punt, and then Belichick goes to Wes Welker, and he's like, hey, have you ever heard of Willie Weston? And he's like, oh, who's Willie Weston? And he's like, oh, Willie Weston was some guy from the 30s who was a punter that lost his job to Billy Batson. And, Billy was, a guy from nowhere, and he worked hard and lost a job. And he's like, you could be Willie Weston if you don't work hard because Edelman's a Billy Batson over there. And Welker's like, oh, you know what? Edelman can be the punt returner. He's like, I'm good with that. And Belichick's just like, oh man, what a way to compete. And the clip just ends. But I just keep that going in my mind now. It's just Belichick just saying, oh, what a way to compete. And it's like, oh, okay. I guess, we don't want Edelman to win the punt return job. But it says Diggs has changed teams for the 3rd time in 3 years, but hasn't dented his confidence. That sounds like it maybe has a little bit because he's now saying he's the best number 2 receiver in the NFL. And again, like, obviously not every number 1 receiver in the NFL correlates exactly to like 1 through 32, but to be the best number 2 receiver in the NFL, you're just kind of like, yeah, I mean, you're doing the exact opposite that Will Levis did. You're basically like, yeah, I think there are 32 other receivers better than me. Now, again, for receivers, a lot of time you do run 2 receiver sets, so naturally you kind of get 64 receivers playing starting receiver. So, and then like we're saying, the best number 2 receiver in the NFL could hypothetically be, it's like the NBA in that sense where, guys, is Anthony Davis, better off as your second best player, but in reality, again, he's more like the 9th best player in the league, but really he's like the highest end number 2 that you're ever going to have. But really, again, he's kind of a number 1 at the peak of his powers as well too. Maybe Davis now is a little bit more like Diggs, and they're both in Washington. I don't know what that means, but chat Washington the term limits on the players that they get. I don't know, but I guess Davis and Diggs hopefully still have time left, I guess, for being productive as well too. There have been some injuries and stuff for him there. But, and they still have McLaurin. It's not like, again, you're bringing him in to be the main guy, in a sense. I think there was a little bit of that in New England where he was supposed to kind of, be the 1,000, 1,200-yard receiver there. And they have other good receivers. I'm trying to, do they still have them, I guess is what we're thinking of. But Diggs. Oh, bringing in Treylon Burks. Yeah, De'Ami Brown, very productive for sure. Van Jefferson, good veteran receiver over the last couple years. River Craycraft. Again, they've made sure to sign every receiver that was a free agent that was over 30, I guess. McLaurin. Oh, yeah, Luke McCaffrey's fine. I guess, yeah, Craycraft is 31. Who's 24 here? Jalen Lane. Okay, somebody with some pep in their step. Somebody who can run with some speed. Chris Hilton, I guess. And then, there's a couple of drafted guys here as well, too. Jaden Bradley, it looks like, out of LSU and then UNLV. But I guess, McLaurin would be, kind of still the mainstay guy. And, like we're saying, he could be the number 3 if, like, De'Ami Brown has a really productive year or something. But, again, for Washington, what do they have in the slot right now? Van Jefferson as the number 2. Okongwu. I don't think, Okonkwo. Am I saying the name right now? I'm still in NBA mind chat. Chego Okonkwo. Okongwu, obviously the center for the Falcons. Shout out. And then is that Rashad White as their running back? Oh, chat. Okay, an interesting get. Do they still have who's the other guy that everybody was making a big deal of in fantasy last year? McCoskey Merritt. Yeah, Krosky Merritt was their running back. So White as kind of that pass catching threat. McCroskey Merritt as the runner is not bad for sure. Jerome Ford, McNichols, I guess also. And then Katron Allen. Yeah, where is he from? Is he Penn State? Okay, obviously that Penn State duo was pretty deadly last couple of years. Singleton maybe a little more name value, but I don't know if it was one of those things where like Singleton's the better college running back, but maybe Katron Allen has some better pro talents. I don't know, but that's not a bad running back core for sure. But again, just a little bit of an older receiving core here as well. But that veteranness could be nice in some ways. Athen Kalamanis is their third QB. Where's he from? Rutgers. Marcus Mariota, Sam Hartman as well too. Yeah, Notre Dame, and then of course Daniels. So that could be in the competition. That could be a top 5 quarterback room. Daniels, Hartman, and Mariota and Kalakamankis. Is Kalakamankis better than Oluwakondu? I guess is the debate we'll have here. That'll be a summer debate on the Rem and Sam. Kalamankis versus Oluwakondu versus Rem and Sam pod. Backup quarterback versus. I guess maybe we'll have to get to that. But in the meantime, before we get to the backup quarterback versus, we will go to an album anniversary that is celebrating 15 years being dropped, I guess, tomorrow, I think, technically, but we celebrate on tonight's live stream. Or I guess, we'll celebrate tomorrow as well, too, with the late start. It is what it is. But watch the Throne Chat, Jay-Z's collab album with, of course, Kanye West in 2011. And I tell you what, some of the songs, they still hit to this day. It is what it is. So we will go back and relive one of the great, modern collab album experiences that we've had in the last, I guess, for hip hop history. It really is one of the best ever. But we will relive that awesome album here right after the break. Don't go anywhere. Watch The Throne 15-year anniversary right after this. All right, Chad, here we go. 15 years later, Watch the Throne is up. I just noticed we have the Spotify on shuffle. Hey, yeah, we get this going. So we play the album in order. Of course, we could shuffle it and it wouldn't matter. The album is really got no misses on it to some degree. Shuffle it around. Still a great playlist, but keeping it with the run that it is set. Of course, there is just an energy that builds throughout the beginning of this album that is undeniable here. And of course, I guess, obviously even going into the album as well too, like you're saying, as I was saying leading into this, one of the greatest collab albums of all time. Of course, collab, different than a group sense, and I guess in a sense, Watch the Throne is a group name for them. And Jay-Z and Kanye in some sense have been, obviously never an official group throughout the course of their career, but obviously, a very, very, heavily focused collaborative duo. Obviously, Jay-Z's, lyricism, bringing on Kanye, on Kanye's beats was, very major in helping him become the mainstream artist that he was early on. But, obviously, this still, to me, does go in the collab album territory more than it does. Like, I wouldn't put this in the same group of, like, an Outkast album or, Infamous or, again, the groups that were actually working together, the Locks, but, again, there would still be some of the same type of similar creative crossover there in some way. Again, obviously not the same daily grind pause that you would have of working, side by side with somebody in a group, but enough creative familiarity there that at least you're not having that initial, you know, sort of experimentation of it all just kind of being that first time of the artist coming together. And sometimes that does actually, work out for the best as well too. It's like, okay, let's get the artist, like in a Dreamville type setting, or like, like the first Jack Boys album in a sense, might be like the best one of the two. Obviously, maybe they drop another one. Maybe that one's the classic of the three, but maybe there was like, okay, the magic of that first time getting together in that way. Pause, but from an album standpoint, maybe it, again, is just something that can be difficult to repeat as well too. But again, it probably made sense at some point in their careers that they would partner in this way as well too. Obviously, the timelines of their relationship, working together or not, I could go back and double check the details of hey they were talking at they were talking at this point, they weren't talking then, they were talking then. But again, just considering the creative crossover of them too, if you're just following the careers on Spotify creatively, it would make sense for their careers to come to this level at some point. And obviously, they were at different times as well too here. Jay-Z being a little more veteran at this point. In some ways Kanye having like that second career renaissance, or not even like a second career renaissance, but he has that first run of the first three albums, obviously, and what that propels him to just that's, being the top star in some ways in the game, or just at the top of the game, in a lot of ways. And then just the way that he is able to continue to extend that run into just, solidifying himself as, again, really going down as one of the great artists at that time. And obviously, even since 2011, he has added albums to the discography that, we would still continue to listen to, and, would get that, obviously maybe not as classic, but still that really high quality, classic-esque sort of label to him. But, I think it's pretty clear that 2011 is kind of the peak of the powers for Kanye. Obviously, again, you can still debate what the best album is for him. Is it the classic, early sound of something like College Dropout? Was it the early progression, taking that next step forward with Graduation? Maybe you say it's like a personal-esque project. It's like Donda, the best album or something like that. I don't know if that'd be in the mix. But, again, obviously, not Devil in a New Dress, but what's it called? My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy is obviously a album with the craftsmanship that would be in the argument for his best album there. And just the fact that he dropped both of these albums and what they were, just again, this sort of everywhere vibe of these songs. And obviously, again, he was going to have that with hits that he was dropping anyways. But just to have the projects that he was dropping here, and then, obviously, the Good Friday stuff that he'd be doing as well too. Again, he would still continue to, really just dominate, whole year cycles as well too. But, again, just these two projects in 1 year is obviously, a very, very, or, obviously around the same time. Maybe Twisted Fantasy is 12 or something. I don't remember the exact calendar year there, but around the same time is obviously a crazy 1-2 punch for him there. But yeah, again, for Jay-Z, he also had a couple of underrated collab albums at the time. I guess this one's not underrated, but he also has, of course, Everything Is Love, which maybe is 13, or I guess that's a little later, 2018. I thought that was a little more around that time. But again, he is just still able to extend that sort of commercial peak value as well too into 2011, because the Blueprint 3 definitely had hits on it as well. Of course, that has the Empire State of Mind. That's got it's got the J. Cole feature on it. The Kid Cudi song is kind of a classic song as well too. Run This Town with Rihanna and Kanye is also on there as well too. So he still is dropping hits within the last couple of years. But I think there is a rapping that he does obviously get back to in this album, and not say that again he doesn't have that on like the Blueprint 3, but there is, as again, looking at what those hits were: Alicia Keys, Rihanna, even Kid Cudi doing the hook on those songs. Like all three of those songs are kind of the same thing. Like they are that melodic, chorusy type of vibe. A little bit more pop focused, and again, maybe a little bit simpler with some of the Jay-Z verses. He is always going to have a sort of lyrical complexity to just the way that he approaches his not writing, but the way he approaches his verses. But again, still, that those were maybe a little bit more pop geared songs versus this. Again, there is just him getting back into the just the aggressive rapping and really being on top of his game here with this album. I mean, you could say some of the best energy that he has had over his career as well too. And obviously, for Jay-Z's discography, I mean, it's as classic as you can get for anybody. I mean, again, he's arguably the greatest rapper of all time, but he does, and he was obviously very influential in pioneering some of that soulful sound early on in his career. But in terms of like the big sort of, do you say pause, like really hard beats, again, he does have those in his career. Again, Big Pimpin', Hope, Izzo, again, he's gonna have, Don't You Know. Like again, he does have beats that you could still play in the club that are gonna, get people energized, big stadium songs. But there is an energy level and a modernness to this, but it still has, of course, the soulful influence as well that, again, Jay-Z, is accustomed to rapping, and obviously that Kanye is accustomed to producing to as well. But you think about like the popularity of Jay-Z's career, like he does get a little bit more modern in his sound with Magna Carta, but that album is just not brought up in the same way as some of the other albums. That probably is out there, down there with like like some of the like Blueprint 2.5 or whatever, again, just in terms of like how it's brought up. And I think maybe even some of the lower Blueprint albums get raised by it being in the Blueprint series. But then you even have 444 after Magna Carta, which gets back a little bit more, very soulful, very stripped down sound. Again, it doesn't have like big club bangers. Again, it's like a very personal album, very introspective as well too, so it makes sense for that kind of production. But again, Reasonable Doubt is a very, very chill album in some sense. It does have energy. It does have songs that you can play driving around and make you want to put your make you want to speed the car up a little bit, go a little faster. Again, put a little pep in your step. But it does also again just have those chill cruising vibes and the sort of floating background vocals as well too. And Jay-Z just kind of again, not necessarily lightly going on the verses, but again, maybe just kind of laying back a little bit on some of the flows at some points in the album, especially, in the back half of the album. And, again, there is just like we're saying, a chill, soulful nature to the point of his career. But, the energy of this album is some of the, obviously, like we're saying, just some of the best energy. And, the Blueprint has that as well, too. A little bit. Again, it does have that Just Blaze influence where Just Blaze can get some of that big anthemic production out of that soulful sound as well too. Make no mistake. I mean, it still is there. But, again, and I think that's where Everything Is Love, honestly, kind of is fun for Jay-Z's discography as well too. Again, that's way later, 2018, so that's definitely starting to get, now in that trap era as well too is, very distinct. But, that's definitely a little bit more closer to now's time sound as maybe, again, like, the Blueprint 2 might be in some ways. and again, timeless music is timeless music. But there is like a, you can cue this up on a car speaker in some ways, and it still does, fit a sound in the modern times that, again, the vibe shifts a little bit sometimes when you cue up certain sounds. And again, that's not the same for every song. But from an album basis, again, this album is a little bit more. Again, obviously it's a newer album, again, 2011 for Jay-Z in terms of his own discography. But, again, like I'm saying, what that means for the energy of the production, I think is a great ad for his discography as well too. It's not just like, another collaboration with Kanye. It really does, bring value to what he does. And that's, important for the artist as well too. And I not say that like, an artist like Drake or something doesn't not do this now in some ways. Like I do think Iceman is, there is some good sounds on that compared to now. And, very beat switch heavy album like that is, a new thing, I guess, in some ways. He does have some beat switches on like For All the Dogs and stuff as well too. But, again, like, this album does fit nicely next to some of his albums, but there is, and he has experimented with genres lately as well too. So like, he has like done like a house album with Honestly Nevermind, and gotten a little, different there, more R&B focused with some Sexy Songs for You. But again, there is still kind of like a cohesive, again, sort of, Drake sound in some sense that, you do get. And again, it's not a bad thing, but like I was saying, there is a cohesive Jay-Z sound here as well too, that you do get, a soulful vibe throughout the course of his discography. But, this was a different turn on that, of course, that, again, was obviously just, all-time stuff as well too. And especially, the beginning of the album is, one of the great runs, of course, as we'll cue it up here as well. But, and, great features all the way around. We can shout out as we get into it. I have the main track list pulled up. Of course, there is a deluxe version as well too, with some sneaky hits that are, more deep cuts than anything like, major was off of the deluxe. But, still obviously some quality there as well too. So, I mean, do we just fire it right up and get into it? Because, I mean, it starts right away, obviously, with No Church in the Wild. I mean, boom, we're just, hitting the chords and the drums and the, the thumping pause. Hey, yo, is obviously immediate in this album. And we should have, done up the luxury vibes a little bit more. I think IT's got it going on in the background. They've got the cigars, the champagne. I think they've got the booth right now set up so it looks kind of like the interior of a Rolls Royce and a Bentley. So, they kind of got the vibes right now. I guess we should have, brought that on screen a little bit more. But we'll let the luxury vibes play out, I guess, in the the music and in the atmosphere that sets here. And this is, again, where we really start to get to the high art era of Jay-Z as well too. I mean, he's always been, a very, you say like, I guess designer is probably the word I'm looking for. Like he's been very designer focused in some ways throughout the course of his career. Like he's always been, talking about obviously, the fine, alcohol that he's been, that they've been sipping on in the early days, whatever, version of the clothing brands they were accessing back then, the watches, and then, it kind of like the watch brands, like they kind of like get a little bit nicer as the song goes. But then you see, of course, Jay-Z really starts to add in like paintings and different things, and starts to shout out like there's like artist names and things that start to get influenced as well, and those things really start to actually make their way into the actual artwork as well, and the stuff that he is doing there. Again, this is obviously a more like simple type of, what do you say, album cover, maybe even a stock photo. Is this like a Future? I think maybe they went to Future's album cover designer and was like, hey, what do you got? And he's like, don't worry, I got a stock photo for you. I was just looking at this one, but I'll make it gold and it'll be cool. Because for some reason, now that I'm thinking about it, I want to say that the OG version of the album cover maybe just like a silver album cover, and maybe he flips it to gold. But, again, Everything Is Love is a very, like, it's got the paintings and a very, artistic, art museum type of setup. And, obviously this is like, talking about mausoleum floor right away and stuff like that. Again, just, it sets the tone and that type of vibe as well. And, we get to some songs as well, too. Like, there's music videos and stuff. They're driving around. They're having a good time. It is not necessarily like all, like, again, suits and ties and everybody just staring at paintings the whole time. But there is starting to, we're starting to definitely hit the extra elevated billionaire businessman version of Jay-Z. Again, the Magna Carta album cover is like one of those like iconic statues as well too. So it does definitely starts to, set the branding, I guess, for the back half of his career in some ways. Obviously iconic Frank Ocean feature as well too. It is one of those things to be like, oh, Frank Ocean, man, was, crushing it like 15 years ago. I mean, I guess it's never off the table. I'm not going to be one of those guys that's like every, what do you say, every time there's rumors that's like, oh, what's happened. I was just going into his page. Yeah, Channel Orange was 2012 and Blonde was 2016. So we got the Blonde anniversary at the end of this month as well too. 10 years. I mean, again, if Frank Ocean had dropped 7 albums over the course of his career and then obviously took 10 years off and then came back, it'd be a little less weird, obviously, because, he had 7 albums, more of a body of work at that point. But, again, still in theory, especially now, the idea of the artist returning for that album, again, we still see these guys making music way late into their careers. Or, again, their careers never really have like an end point in some ways. Like, didn't Madonna just drop a new album? Again, it's not like, oh, how can Madonna still be dropping music? But it's like, Madonna is still dropping music. Again, I'm sure, if Michael Jackson was still here, Michael would still be dropping music. Again, like, Tupac and Biggie might still be dropping music. Again, it's the access that we have now and the abilities, and the careers to be able to extend like that. Again, I guess he could drop an album whenever. But, again, we're going on a decade here, 15 years of him, being at the peak of his power. So, it will be, I guess, a different thing. Really teasing out the return. I guess, speaking of Hitchcock, chat, hey, Frank Ocean, a master of anticipation. Pause. Hey, 15-year wait on the album. Of course, iconic intro song, though, iconic feature on No Church in the Wild. We get Liftoff as the second track, which, do we have to defend Liftoff as a banger track? Because this song definitely gets a little bit criticized as well too. Now, I do understand the point of people saying that the sort of 3 songs around it are crazy, where of course you go, No Church in the Wild, you have Paris, and then Otis after that as well too. I mean, those are obviously, again, 3 all-time high energy songs. There is a little bit of a tonal shift with the sort of more melodic, floaty vibe of Liftoff. So maybe it is, again, just sort of a track order thing. If Liftoff was literally like the 4th track on this album instead of the 2nd, I think it would be, people would have a totally different relationship with it. But I think it's legitimately a great song. And, again, you got Beyonce on it. Beyonce, Jay-Z, and yeah, it turns out, they make a good song back in 2011. But, again, the Beyonce vocals are great. The build on the production is really great as well, too. Maybe Jay-Z is not like, not the, it's not like an artist performance type of song. But, again, for what the song is, it really is a great production as well, too. And I think maybe listening to the NFR pod shout out, they have said before, like, there is the spaceship sound effects that don't work. And this, I was like, I don't know, the spaceship sound effects do kind of work. Obviously the whole hook is take it to the moon, take it to the stars. But I mean, I don't mind the sound effects and the skits and the interludes and stuff in songs as well too. I'm probably actually more a fan of it than not. Like, maybe I actually kind of prefer it as well too. Like, another one specifically that they kind of criticize is there's a voicemail interlude on the album For All the Dogs. It's on the track Calling for You. In the middle of the beat switch is like a voicemail interlude, and the girl in the voicemail is like, oh, I don't know, how can we eat oxtail and jerk chicken all the time? And she's like talking about the vacation. And the NFR pod's like, how is this in the song? I'm like, I've put it in every song. Hey, Drake's next album could just be all it's just be voicemails from his ex. And it just would just be like, be a great album. It'd just be like, just voicemail interludes. It'd be fun. It'd just be like, back in the day, they used to have interludes all the time. It'd be voicemails and the mad rapper, the mad producer. It'd be like, what happened to fun interludes? So I guess, obviously, I guess the space countdown's a little different than that. But the point is, I'm accepting, I guess, of those things in, hey, yo, chat, we're very progressive over here when it comes to skits and sound effects in music. It is what it is. But, and, there is also a J. Cole sample of this song. It's not on streaming, which maybe is a rights issue. I'm not sure, but it is on YouTube. I want to say it's called The Cure. I want to say maybe he dropped it before Born Sinner, because maybe the freestyle was like 12 and then the album was 2013. Born Sinner was 2013. But, a really great track as well too. And obviously, again, you actually kind of get in the Cole version a bit of a verse on that type of production, so that's, again, a little different as well too compared to the song. But the fact that the song itself is focused on the Beyonce vocals, again, it really is a great song. But you see, even the streaming number is just like, people are just moving past this song. It is what it is. Or people obviously have certain songs saved in their playlist. They're like, I'll just save them, the other ones around it. It is what it is. But again, I think maybe it's just a victim of order, and that is still important with an album. You gotta have a good track list set, I guess, as well too, not just throw the songs on there randomly, but curate the album experience so you guide the viewer through the songs with a good good whatever. But again, it's still, all 4 of these songs are good, so I'm not I'm not skipping any of these 4 songs if I'm playing the album from start to finish. And again, I'm enjoying the experience here that they're given. And I guess even Gotta Have It as well too, I'm underrating it. Again, it probably doesn't have the same sort of overall like streaming value of some of these early songs, but it is still classic as well too. And I mean, Chad, speaking of classic, I mean, I don't know how you get more classic than this as well. I mean, of course, the soulful production, like we're saying, how Kanye is able to manipulate that over the course of his career has obviously been the real mainstay PowerPoint, and obviously we'll get there as well too, with, in some ways, maybe at least from like a high energy bangers perspective, maybe a magnum opus in some ways with the next song. But this is sort of that curating the random sampleness as well too, which is kind of a, again, you do think like, oh man, how does he find that sample? Like, he really is, one of those guys that obviously just sources from crazy things, but maybe not always like, the sound effect packs or stuff like that. Maybe he did start to get there a little bit more into the later 2010s with, some of the Good Friday era stuff, the 2010s run. But, again, maybe this is a little bit of a pivot for that as well too. Because the 3 albums before, obviously the 3 album run that he started his career with from his own solo discography would have all been, I guess maybe Flashing Lights isn't necessarily like a sample specifically. Maybe there's a couple in there, but there is a specific sort of melody line focus to all of the songs. And again, you're still obviously pulling a melody out of the sound effect like this, but it is a little bit different. Like I think is Hit Boy also a producer on this? So I think I was gonna say like Hit Boy is like kind of known for that type of stuff as well too. Let me pull up the song DNA here on Spotify real quick. I guess Mike Dean, obviously, influential in the Kanye era here as well. Yeah, Chauncey Hollis is credited as a producer on this. I'm pretty sure that is Hit Boy. Yes, sir, chat. Hey, yo, I should know. I'm just doubting myself as I'm looking at it. So I guess not his most popular song, but pretty close, because he is also credited producer on Sicko Mode as well too. So that's at 2.6 bill. But Paris is almost at 2 bill itself now as well too. Also right here with Justin Bieber and Drake at 287 and a half as well. But those, I guess, would be his 1 billion hit songs that he has in his career. I mean, 2 is crazy. Obviously, I'm just saying that looking through his streaming here, it looks like those are the 2 that crossed that threshold specifically, and obviously they're both way over it at 2. But yeah, I was say that makes sense that because I knew that he was credited from a song from this album here, and I was gonna say I'm pretty sure it was that one there, because like I'm saying, he is really good at that type of stuff, the sample packs and stuff as well too. I mean, with the King's Disease run, of course, Hit Boy also, and throughout other albums as well too, but that one specifically got him a Grammy along with Nas. But that has a lot of real soulful production as well too. King's Disease too, great album, a lot of great iconic sample cuts off of that. But he's really good at digging through the packs, and finding the sound effects that can be manipulated in a really fun way. Yeah, Tyler kind of does that a little bit as well too. Maybe a little bit more than than Ye. And I think Ye obviously got back on this last album. I have to go back and, I guess respin the whole thing. But it like the last one, Bully, I guess, was definitely very focused on, sampling from those songs as well too. Again, more so from, other stuff as well. But hey, yo, Chad, okay, this is it. This is where we just get stuck for the rest of the night right here. It is what it is. Are we even gonna make it past the intro? I don't know. How many times do we have to replay it to match Flex? I think it was like 28 maybe was the number that he played, 27, 28. So, if we get into the 30s, maybe we can get into the Guinness book. I'm not sure. But, again, like we were saying, in terms of, Kanye's soulful production over the course of his career, obviously there are beats, again, from this era of his production specifically. You go from My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, a song like Devil in a New Dress, just the ethereal nature of that song. Again, maybe that's a song that you argue is his best song, or, the best produced song, the best beat that he's ever had. But, again, from the high energy standpoint, you could definitely make a sense that this is like the best, like the most well crafted song that he's ever had. Again, he's going to have so many songs that have really great energy. Again, obviously, like we're saying, the My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy has a ton of stadium songs on it. Power is a song that you would still hear, at college football games in some ways. What's the wait till I give my money. Can't it's not can't there's like another song that's like can't hold, what's there's one that's like something like Can't Hold Me or something like that. I mean, that's definitely a song for sure. If we look that on Spotify, there's probably like 25 songs. Oh, You Can't Hold Me. But what's the Can't Tell Me Nothing. That's what it is. Different song title, but different meaning as well too. But that's another, again, like classic anthemic club song. You could still play that one out and it's still not going to get old. But just the craft, obviously, of the production, what he does here on Otis is really, really crazy, and is, of course, iconic. And you look up the, like, how did he make that sample, and just all the different chops and the different spots in, of course, the original song as well too. Again, like we're saying, he's one of the best at piecing together those beats to make a new one. Obviously, as you do, but just the individual cuts from the different spots of the song and reorganizing those is, classic stuff. And like we're saying, Jay-Z and Kanye as well too, the way they're able to, go back and forth, pause on this album, and not necessarily like, have a your verse, my verse situation, but kind of play off each other in an iconic way. And, again, obviously, there isn't necessarily a debate on who is like the better rapper per se. Again, Jay-Z is arguably, again, the best rapper of all time. And, again, Kanye's never going to get in the discussion for the number one. Like, the discography obviously is crazy. And if you're ranking, like, like the hip hop figure of it all, obviously maybe not, now is going to look a little different. But, again, going back in time, even, a couple of years. But, again, whatever the peak version of that ranking would have been, again, you could have said, like, Kanye would have been, like, a top 5 person in hip hop ever. But maybe, again, would you have said, like, the lyricism? Like, you maybe never would have said, like, he's, like, a better rapper than, like, Lil Wayne. And obviously, Lil Wayne sold a lot of records as well, too. So you have great commercial argument there for Wayne. But, maybe the longevity of Ye's commercial viability run and just the overall quality of the discography, again, maybe it is a little bit different than, Wayne's or other guys that, again, you may be able to say are directly able to out-rap him. But there are time and time again where, when Ye has to go like toe to toe with a guy on a verse that is an all-time great rapper, he always does, hold his own is not even the right way to say it. Like, he goes one-on-one, puts up stats like directly with the person that he is rapping against. Like, he is, on this song. And I guess, it could be a little bit of a Drake situation where I don't know if he's always like writing his own verses as well too. Maybe even a little more than Drake though. I can't say for a fact. But, again, I'll giving him the benefit of the doubt that it is him most of the time. Did he have access to AI early on back in 2011? Who's to say? But again, for again, what those times when he did have to go toe to toe with another rapper on a song, he did do it. Now, I think the thing, and again, he does have great like songs where he's the only guy on the song, and great solo cuts in that way. But I don't know if he necessarily has like the great let me just spill my thoughts out on this song. And again, if we were, just keep bringing Drake back up, I guess, I don't know. But, this obviously it could be anybody, Kendrick, Drake, Cole, I name all three guys from this era, Pac, Big. But that's, Wayne, again, any of the great rappers are obviously going to have that song specifically. That's going to be most of their career. But, they're going to have that song where even if there is that collaborativeness to the project and there's going to be a lot of, maybe even Travis Scott as well too. Like I'd have to go back and double check the discography. Like what would be the great, solo Travis Scott song? Maybe like Coffee Bean. I don't know. Or maybe like something off of Rodeo as well too. And of course, I don't think you would ever, I think Ye is a better rapper than Travis Scott. I think Travis Scott's also underrated as a rapper just in terms of his lyricism ability, but I don't think he's quite as good as Ye, but maybe better song construction as well too. Obviously, again, maybe not quite the lyricism of Ye, maybe not quite the song construction of Drake, but really, like 85% of both, which is obviously, again, why he's able to have the star power that's equal to kind of both of them. I guess, the whole last half, well, I guess everybody's on. I was gonna say he doesn't have anybody credited on Astroworld, but yeah, he doesn't have anybody credited. But Coffee Bean for sure doesn't have anybody on it. Maybe Stop Trying to Be God doesn't have anybody on it as well too. I guess maybe Stargazing is solo as well too. Let me double check here real quick. Is there a listed feature on this? Song DNA, main artist Travis Scott. Yeah, I think it is just Travis Scott. So maybe Stargazing is like the great Travis Scott. And again, like Ye is gonna have those songs. Like maybe like earlier on in his career more so. Like I don't know, like Through the Wire or something like that could be in that type of lane. But those songs do get a little bit more notoriety for the production and again the song. I think I just clicked on I did click on Stargazing as a song here. Let me get this album queued back up here real quick and get back to playing Otis again. Here we are. Okay, 3 2 1 boom boom boom. But what are we saying? Yeah, again, for College Dropout, like he does have, again, All Falls Down. The feature on that is more of a, hook feature as well. Again, like slow jams, him working with Jamie Foxx earlier on. Again, Jamie Foxx is going to be the R&B side of the feature there. But again, like this song, like we're saying, he is really going toe to toe with Jay-Z in some ways. Another one that I'm thinking of is No Parties in LA, when Kendrick gives you a great verse on that song, and in some ways you could say that again the Kanye verse on that is it outright better, but it's definitely not worse than the Kendrick, and it's definitely a little bit more involved as well too. He goes for a pause a little bit longer than Kendrick does as well. But it is one of those things. Again, obviously you don't have to have us sit here and defend the discography of Kanye, but again, just his sort of game ability as well too. Maybe like if James Harden had some better conference finals performances, I don't know. But it'd be like, I don't know what NBA guy would get the sort of knock of being like, oh, maybe he doesn't have the basketball skill, but time and time again, like went toe to toe with some players. Maybe like Wade in some ways. I don't know. We've got the YouTube going right now with some classic NBA games. So right now we've got an old Boston, not old, but older, a classic Wade era, LeBron era, Boston versus Miami game. Is this a playoff game? I guess I could check here. It doesn't say on the broadcast score if it's a playoff game. So I'm assuming this might be regular season. Let's see what we get here. Yeah, November 11th, 2010, I guess, is the game that we have going right now. Regular season, Boston very, very much dominating this game in the background. It has been it is what it is, double-digit lead the entire time. But I guess this would be like very, very early on in the LeBron run as well too. So them kind of forming some chemistry. I mean, November 11th would be like the 7th game of the season if it's starting in like the end of October. But either way, for what are we saying? Like maybe Wade would be a little bit in that type of category where you would never say like Wade is as skill. I guess I'm not saying never is obviously strong, but just in general sense, you generally wouldn't hear Wade get like say like the skill of like Kobe Bryant or some of the other two guards, like I don't know, Jerry West or something. But obviously again, Wade did win a title on his own as the lead guy and had the ability to go toe to toe scoring points with anybody. He could obviously get to the basket, get to the free throw line. Early Shea, obviously with the free throws, but again, he had that ability to carry a team against anybody. I guess like Tim Duncan, the underrated superstar in some ways. But again, I think maybe he does have in some ways the ability to get to the level of you know again, it's strong to say the greatest rappers of all time, because the ability to do it consistently obviously is something. And I mean, if we're really being honest, again, the peak levels of bars of something that, like, the best Wayne bars versus the best Big bars versus the best Ye bars, like, Ye again maybe doesn't have quite the iconic, like, double entendre flip in the same way that maybe Wayne or Big would. I mean, there would be like a quotable or an iconic line or something. Again, obviously something like, what does he say? Couldn't afford a car, so named her daughter Alexis. I mean, I guess that would be like, is that like the most like clever bar that Ye's ever had in his career? But again, it's more stuff like that, where it's like, it is maybe clever. Like, that one is kind of a little double entendre-y, but it's more of like kind of a joke in some senses. Obviously, it's a little different to, talk about Kanye from a humor sense now. Obviously, we tread lightly, and, obviously we, focus on some of those, specific bars that, we can in these days. But, again, again, what his career was built off of, it was those types of things. And at the end of the day, again, you're gonna, obviously sell records, great verses, great performances, great ability. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying that if we're talking about the individual moments, again, it's like LeBron. Like, obviously LeBron had the sustained career of some guys, like Jay-Z, he had the sustained career, but he also had the individual performance, where it's like, oh, Jay-Z on Brooklyn's Finest, Big on this verse is like the best performance of all time. It's like, again, I guess, whatever. What's the song where I should know this song? Yeah, I don't know Wayne's discography well enough. I should know the song where G's move in silence like lasagna. Hey, yo, I guess is G's move in silence like lasagna. Is named her daughter Alexis definitively, a worse bar than that? Let's see. Move in silence. 6'7". There we go. It's got it. I guess I just queued it up next. Wait, I'll have to unqueue it real quick because we can't mess up the run. But yeah, there we go. That is the song that we were looking for. But again, obviously, like we're saying, he can, go toe to toe with any of those guys there, and does, I think, you know, in terms of that ability, there is a, in all timeness as well too. Like a arguably maybe like a third team all time NBA rapper in a sense. And again, top 15, if you're really going like the actual ability and not worried about the discography in some sense, or like the commercial value, then of course you can really start going into like the underground sense and some of the maybe artists that wouldn't compete in that way. But it's like, oh, and I guess I, not gonna stomp on everybody's commercial value. But again, maybe it would be like, like Black Thought or something, or like, all these guys had great commercial success, so it's obviously not, these aren't like deep pulls, hey yo, or like Ka or something like that. Rest in peace, obviously, pause, or I don't know, we'd have to say pause, but that was just rest in peace, hey yo. But what are we saying for it's getting late, but again for again for the ability to really match performances, it is obviously there, so you do have to give it credit. Willis Reed, maybe it's like Willis Reed. It's like Willis Reed, not maybe gets known as like the all-time great center position guy, but obviously is iconic because of, the injury return moment. And he does have 2 titles, and he did, I think, outplay, was it maybe like Kareem in one, and then, I don't know, he's like a Bill Russell and then Wilt Chamberlain in back-to-back years. Like, oh man, Willis Reed's pretty good. But, again, you would never say Willis Reed is like better than any of those guys. But also when they were in the finals, like Willis Reed got the win. Hey, yo. But here, let me double check. I want to say definitely Wilt. And I also just spelled Willis Reed. You guys can't see it here, but I just spelled it with a Z. So, not to make him even cooler than he already is. Hey, yo, rest in peace. But Willis instead of Willis? I don't know. And I also just looked up his coaching record as well, too. A lot different than his playing record, I tell you what. And, shout out, obviously, Willis Reed Jr. Or no, that's Wes Unseld Jr. I was going to say Willis Reed Willis Reed's kid was coaching the Wizards, but no, that's Wes Unseld, not Willis Reed. But maybe Willis Reed's kid is a coach somewhere, and I'm just unaware of it. But for some reason, I can't find his player page here as well. I'm having a difficult time clicking the link on that. The link to what I thought was going to be his player page was the link to the Hall of Fame. So that was not the right place. And I almost clicked on his coach page again. Okay, here we go. Willis Reed in the finals in 1969-70, finals MVP. And in 72-73, finals MVP as well. Okay, so now I'm in the finals MVP history page. Chat, this is a disaster. Hey, yo. I'm just trying to see what happened. Oh, the second ever finals MVP. I didn't realize it was that early on as well, too. Obviously, West was the first in 68-69 for winning a finals MVP for obviously a team that lost. But yeah, the Knicks beat the Lakers in 7 in 69-70. So you've got Willis Reed 23 and 10 and Wilt Chamberlain 23 points, 24 rebounds. So I guess maybe not like too slowed down by Willis Reed, but obviously they were doing something there. And we might have to go back and rewatch this series. I mean, these guys were all balling. Willis Reed, Dave DeBusschere, Dick Barnett, Walt Frazier, and Bill Bradley, Cazzie Russell. I mean, that's just a pretty strong top six. I mean, what are you going to do? But Jerry West, Wilt Chamberlain, Elgin Baylor, Dick Garnett, Keith Erickson, Happy Hairston. I think they kind of lost some of the minutes with Happy Hairston there. But I mean, this series did go 7 as well too. So, there is obviously it was pretty close. And Frazier, 36 in the last game. Chamberlain with 45 in game 6. So again, I've maybe difficult to say Willis Reed probably won the finals MVP a little bit by default in some ways, but also a worthwhile performance as well too. But if we go to the 73 finals, he was also against the Lakers as well. So back to back. So 2 finals where he destroys Wilt Chamberlain. And this one definitely a little more decisive. Wilt Chamberlain was 11 points a game, 18 rebounds. So still swallowing up rebounds. Pause. But they had Gail Goodrich, Jerry West, and Jim McMillan all scoring 20 a game, but not quite enough. The balance again from New York. Bill Bradley 18, Frazier 16, Willis Reed 16, Earl Monroe 16, and then Dave DeBusschere 15 and 11. Sneaky Dave DeBusschere should have been the MVP here. He has the most rebounds. And everybody basically has the same amount of points. So just give it to Busher. Pause. But, and he was 80%, from the free throw line. I was going to say, Bill Bradley, 93% from the free throw line, 13 for 14 in this series. I think that's where they maybe won it, honestly. Won it in 6 games. But, either way, shout out to Dave DeBusschere and Willis Reed. Or, I guess, Kanye West is the Willis Reed of rappers. Sorry to Willis Reed, but rest in peace. We're not trying to, associate Willis Reed with anything disrespectful there, but just in terms of the ability, in the respective fields. I guess that could be the comp. Let us know, Kanye West comps. Do you have this RemSam pod on Instagram? And, we're talking about ability comps because if you do some, if there's any crazy comps there, then yes, they're probably true. But, in terms of, the NBA comps, don't do Myers Leonard. We're gonna get a lot of Myers Leonard in the chat. It is what it is. But shout out to Myers Leonard. Or maybe we have to tread lightly there. I want to say because he maybe did the apology steps afterward is really what the shout out is for there. Obviously the attempt to make it right. But I guess we'll move on to the next song eventually. Chat. We should at some point. And gotta have it. Obviously. Again, like we were saying, maybe not the same star power as the previous songs, but, does, I guess, have more streams than Lift Off. And, people enjoy it more than that. Apparently, hot take, Lift Off, better track. I think it is the 4th best. I think you go 4 for 4 with the best 4 tracks at the start, but maybe just slightly the wrong order of what they should have been. Again, maybe it should have been Lift Off there as the 4th track. And then it's gotta have it. But either way, you're not getting a skip. So there's really nothing to complain about. The complaint is the order of the tracks in the album. Like, we really can't be pleased as fans. Chat. Pause. It is what it is. We're like, all these songs are great, but I would rather have them in this order. It's like, what are we doing here? All we want is good music, and we don't even have albums. We don't even listen to albums anymore. We just, throw stuff into playlists and then listen to random things. Everybody listens to the Rap Caviar playlist, so it's like it's Lift Off on the Rap Caviar playlist. But again, if the album is not ordered, I guess the right way, then It is great. I'm trying to think of what other album would even have sacrificed from, or what album would have even had that type of sort of situation with it, where it's like this track is out of order here. Because again, maybe that's the great thing about great albums is, like I'm saying, they're also so well curated as well too. Where you wouldn't go with like Good Kid, Mad City, you'd be like, oh, Kendrick should have put the part where they robbed they robbed the house over here because it would have made more sense instead of over here. Like it's like no, that the sonic patterns of the album, like, it makes sense to listen to the album as well too, even if you didn't have the skits in there. Like the songs in a row just kind of make sense. But it's not like Illmatic or again, another album that was like I guess Illmatic was not like an 8 out of 10. I was saying there's not like a 10 out of 10 album that's like, hey, we'll give it a 10 out of 10, but the songs were the wrong order. Or the other way around, where it's like, oh, American Gangster by Jay-Z really would have been a 10 out of 10, but the songs are in the wrong order. It's just like, no, it kind of, I feel like, the classicness of it just kind of stands up. And, that usually is not necessarily something that is too worried about. But either way, like we're saying, it's probably not overall too crazy. Oh, Chad, did we just lose our? Oh no, we're back. Ayo, what happened? What happened, Chad? I thought maybe we didn't unplug, or we didn't plug in our camera, but I think we are good to go. IT, get out of the Bentley Leather Studio and see if the camera's plugged in. Ayo, get your champagne drunk butt over there and figure out how to plug in the camera. Hey, yeah. But Chad, now he's burping up champagne bubbles as he stumbles over there. It's crazy. I don't know if he's probably gonna make it worse. So just go sit back down. Hey, yo. But like we're saying, I guess we got hey, yo, the other album, other songs as well too. There are the rest of the cuts, Chad. Hey, yo, I forgot about these. These songs do slap though as well. And again, obviously hits a little bit of a different tone as well. This is a little bit more that kind of classic chill throwback vibe. Where again, obviously we're saying there is a bigger soul sample sort of nature here, but also kind of a rock influence as well too. I mean, you do kind of get that with some of the Mike Dean influence though as well too. I mean, I'm not saying I know exactly, all the influences that Mike Dean is going to bring to the table, but there is a sort of, guitar based heavy string situation that he is going to provide to the tracks. Obviously, again, the later stage, Kanye production that we get here, but also his work on with Travis Scott. Again, very trap minded as well too. It's not, getting too far off of that, but there is some of those underlying tones that are there. And Travis has talked about experimenting more down that lane. I want to say that recently, based on the quotes he was talking about, there was like some he's like some Van Halen influences maybe being pulled into this next album. But again, that with what Mike Dean was providing, there is a there is a natural step. I guess they're not too far off in my mind. It does sort of bridge the gap between those two things. But this is again a much more kind of traditional chill throwback track as well too. And more again Jay-Z and Ye focused here at the end of the album as well too. Not necessarily bringing in the like the hook minded features, of course, until the end of the project as well too. Frank Ocean back again as well. So hey, obviously again early notoriety bump for him, getting him helping get his name there as well too. Separating from the Odd Future bunch. We could go back and double check that timeline, but I'm sure it was all around there with the 2012 debut album that he would be dropping soon after, like we were looking at as well. But yeah, again for those songs it is going to be mostly the solo efforts that we do get there. So hey, yo, chat, up next, That's My Hurt is the next track that we have here. We may have to go follow the genius for some of these, chat. It is what it is. Again, maybe the later cuts on this don't have the same sort of lyric recognizability that some of the early ones do as well. And that can be the problem with having hits is you're like, "Oh, wait a second. I forgot to play the rest of the song." Especially these ones where it's just you just get stuck, pause, playing those hits, over and over and over again. And especially since it was, again, like literally, what do you say? Like trained in us, pause, to to listen to it so many times because of the way that the album dropped. But drum heavy James Brown sample tracks, old school track for their album Watch Thrones. One of their claims states, okay, we're just reading the intro there. Not very well, but we were trying to read it and skim through it there. Yeah, I guess we're moved on to the next track, anyways. But the Marilyn Monroe line, hey, Mona Lisa can't fade her. I mean, Marilyn Monroe, she quite nice, but why all the pretty icons always all white? Chat, hey, we got and I say I saw "Don't Bring Me Thelma" in it. So I saw another Thelma line. Bring Hallie, Penelope, Salma in it. Back to my Beyonces. Hey, chat. So obviously, Jay-Z or what do we got? Shout out. Obviously, back in the day, the verses obviously maybe hit a little bit different than some of the freestyle verses that he has been dropping now. But again, there were obviously there were some great bars back in the day. It is what it is. But yeah, I gotta say, chat, these two might have to go into rotation a little bit more. It is what it is. These ones maybe we should have been doing more homework beforehand, and like we're saying, keeping up to date. Twisted love story, true romance. Hey Mary Magdalene from a pole dance. I'm a freak, huh? Rockstar life. Second girl with us. That's our wife. Hey boys and girls, I got a new riddle. Who's the old who's the new old perv that's trying to play second fiddle? No disrespect, I'm not trying to belittle, but my worth money. I put Mona in the middle. There we go. Because that was verse 1. Then like we said, the verse 2 that we were mentioning earlier, you deserve 3 stacks. Word to Andre. There we go. You belong in vintage clothes, crushing the whole building. You too dope for any of those civilians. Now show children stop stop looking at her tits. Hey get your dog, you heard? That's my her. So there's the rhyme scheme, bringing it all the way back around for our guy Jay-Z. He is a lyrical genius. So who else, chat, and without writing it down, the man can rhyme tits with her. Is obviously great work by the legend. But again, obviously you gotta, I guess, did they name the song title beforehand? I was like, he has to say the song title in the song, but I think maybe it could have been the other way as well too. And we said no features, but this also has Ellie Jackson on the chorus, so we do have to shout out Ellie Jackson as well too. So the one half, it says better known as, oh wait, where'd it go here? Better half is one half of the electric duo, English electric pop duo known as LaRue. Kanye also worked with LaRue for a remix to "In for the Kill," so he must have remixed there. Jackson is also credited on All the Lights. Oh well, I think everybody in the industry is credited on All the Lights, so we don't even know if Jackson performed on All the Lights, but they are credited. So again, you have to give him credit there. But looks like making early appearance in Watch the Thrones there as well too. So we get a little Swiss beats, of course, on Welcome to the Jungle here as well. Again, speaking of the rock influence, of course, you get the direct homage with the track name being named after the Guns N' Roses track there as well. And obviously, this is where, again, like we're saying, West in moments can sort of have moments of going toe to toe with Jay. But, again, over the course of the album, Jay in the third and fourth, the second and third quarters is going to be able to carry the team. Like maybe, Ye, not necessarily off the bench, but maybe there's going to be stretches in the first where it's like, oh man, Ye put up 16 points in the first. But, over the game, it's like you're going to need Jay with the playmaking and the totality of it all. Over the course of the album, he's going to give you the verses. You're building the album around him. He's still having the mainstay performances, given the main verses. My dreams is so big, reality set in. Let off a clip from an automatic weapon through shots in the door. It died in Vegas, though it fought so hard, I knew it wouldn't make it. I'm a tortured soul. I live in disguise. Rest in peace to the leader of the Jackson 5. I died in my sleep. I'm still big pimpin'. I ball at the mall. Beginning of the ending. Where the sun? It's been a while. Mama, look at your son. What happened to my smile? My tears is tattered. My rag in my pocket. I'm just looking for love. I know somebody's got it. Champagne for the pain. Weed for the low. It said, I'm so high, where did I go? I'm losing myself. I'm stuck in the moment. I look in the mirror. My only opponent. Where is the press? Where is the press? Either they know or don't care. I'm depressed. I know I'm crying in public. Just lying to judges. When did he say this? 2011? Risking my life. I'm already dying. So, and then I guess, Swiss Beats, Welcome to the Jungle. So, again, maybe some different energy than the original Welcome to the Jungle track. I guess we have to go back and check the lyricism of that track. But at least you do get the inspiration there from the group, like we're saying. But again, maybe a little bit more, serious with the lyrical tone there. But Who Gonna Stop Me is track number 9. So, a little bit of a different direction, obviously, getting a little bit more with the synthy type of situation here. Allegedly the beat bit I Can't Stop Freestyle, which originally a sample of the song I Can't Stop by Flux Pavilion, but come on, it says the song was begging to be rapped over. Oh, it says you can't call it plagiarism. It's called a sample. Oh, so I think, probably the whole legal battle there. But it says it got owned by Pitchfork and then ended up on their best of 2011. So I guess, it's like whoever wrote that up on Genius was like, come on, it was just begging to be stolen. It's like the beat was just sitting right there. If you leave a good beat out, it's like somebody's going to use it. So they're victim blaming is really what happened there. I guess it is what it is. But it says, my weed purple, my money purple, my y'all Steve Urkel, I'm Oprah Circle. I wrote that verse that I'll hope will hurt ya. Who's going to stop me? Beat the odds. Beat the feds. It wouldn't be wise to bet against the kid. Start me broke. I bet I get rich. Night shift 6 to 6. Give me one shot, one pot. I'll show up. I'm wearing all white, no socks. No ceiling, new coupe. They know I'm a dope boy. They don't have no proof. I'm 3 steps removed. I know how to move. It's looking like I don't know how to lose. I'm winning again. I'm at the win. I'm at the table. I'm gambling. Lucky left. I'm expecting 7. I went through hell. I'm expecting heaven. I'm owned because I'm dough. I got stuck to the G code. I'm here. Oh, yeah. I promise I ain't going nowhere. Okay, here like a hare, like a rabbit. I got carrots, but carrots with the K, so like diamonds. Okay, it says, okay, here like a hare, like a rabbit. I got carrots. I'm allergic to having bunny ears, like broke, like nope. Like, I ain't no joke. Oh, little, Eric B. Rakim there. I think maybe we can notice that shout out. It says, I can't be stopped, like nope, like nope. Extend the beat, Noah. Oh, okay. So, a little shout out there at the end to the producer. We do like the Jay-Z shouting out maybe the people in the room or like the people around. I'm sure there is like there's like a song, maybe again this is off of Everything Off of Love, where he's like shouting people out. He's like, "You had the bicycle back in the day." It's like, those are always fun moments. But you get the verse 2 shout out there. 2 seats in the 911, no limit on the black card. Told y'all I'm going ham, HAM, till the ocean is my backyard. No lies in my verse. Hey, please pardon all the curses. Hey, it says, gotta come in some way when you're growing up worthless. Middle finger to my old life. Special shout out to my old head. If it wasn't for your advice, would be dead. Uh, I'm riding dirty, trying to get filthy. Pablo Picasso, Rothko's, and Rilke's graduated to the MoMA. I did all this without a diploma. Wait, the MoMA, MoMA. Oh, the Museum of Modern Art. Okay, so this is what we're talking about, the high art museum sort of vibe here. He's graduated to literally that stage of his life. I guess the Museum of Modern Art, home to great Picasso collection. For more, you'd have to head to Barcelona. A decent selection of Rothko's earlier works. Jay graduated from the street to having an impressive art collection to that compared to that kept in the Museum of Modern Art. Hey, yo, shout out. And he did it all without a diploma. Graduated from the corner. Y'all can play me like a fool if you wanna. Street smart and I'm book smart. Could have been a chemist because I'm book smart. Jay-Z the chemist. Hey, Jay-Z just in a lab. Like Jay-Z instead of Dr. Fauci like handling COVID. Like I don't know what happens there. But it says, oh, or cooking up crack as well too. Also an option. But again, maybe multiple, pathways there. But only one thing can stop me is me. And I'm gonna stop when the hooks start. Hold up. So Jay-Z made it clear in the earlier verses that he refuses to let any outside forces dictate the way he lives or raps. Now he says he rap translator. Now that he has said everything he has to say, he will stop rapping on his own terms, not because the beat ran out on him. Hey, yo. And then I guess, Jay-Z coming in with some crazy bars as well, too. But again, I guess, a heist, a beat worth heisting, according to the genius and, right up there about the song. They were all for it. Murder to Excellence, the thematic centerpiece of Watch the Throne. The song, like the album, contains lyrical expressions of the spectrum of black experience and blackness in contemporary America. The song consists of two parts that discuss two movements. Murder speaks to how the cycles of poverty and violence between black communities and that many African Americans find it difficult to escape, and how they should learn to love each other and unite and fight greater purposes in racism and unfair police treatment. End quote. We should have said quote. That was all quoting here off of the Genius song bio. Continuing the quote, excellence treats excellence, the name of the song, of course, second title there. Quote, excellence treats a more positive subject. Despite all odds, some have escaped the stereotypical ghetto and risen to become new American elite. Jay and Kanye are examples of this. Gradually but surely, the experience of blackness in America is improving in a big way. End quote. Again, reading from the song bio here in reference to the song Murder to Excellence. Of course, track 9 here. Track 9, track 10, track 9 on track 10 on Watch the Throne. But, of course, Jay-Z, this is to the memory of Dan Roy Henry. Too much enemy fire to catch a friendly. Giving you respect, I expect the same thing. I'm out here fighting for you. Don't increase my stress load. Power to the people. When you see me, see you. And then, hey, I guess Kanye's got to chime in here. I'm from the murder capital where they murder for capital. Kind of spin to the line there. Obviously, I'm from the murder capital where they murder for capital. Heard about At least 3 killings this afternoon. Looking at the news, I was just with him after school. No shop class, but the half school got a tool, and I could die any day type attitude. Plus, his little brother got shot repping his avenue. It's time for us to stop and redefine Black Power. 41 souls murdered in 50 hours. The paper read murder, black on black murder, paper read murder, black on black murder again and again. Would be, I guess, the chorus, obviously, there. The Fred Hampton shout out from Jay-Z. I arrived on the day Fred Hampton died. His birthday, of course, would be the same date, as he mentions here. And they say by 21, of course, rest in peace, Fred Hampton. Hey, yo. They say by 21, I was supposed to die. So I'm out here celebrating my post-demise. If you put crabs in a barrel to ensure your survival, you're going to end up pulling down that look just like you. What up, blood? What up, cuz? It's is the lyric there. What up, blood? What up, cuz? It's all black. I love us. The paper read, and back to the hook there that we had mentioned earlier, of course. But and then the part 2 excellence where it switches, and then Jay-Z hits with the intro. It's a celebration of black excellence, black ties, black Maybach backs, yeah, black excellence, opulence, decadence. Tucks next to the president. I'm present. I dress in Dries, if I'm saying it right, and other boutique store in Paris. I'm just trying to honestly think of it with the rhyme scheme with Paris. In sheepskin coats, I silence the lambs. Do you know who I am, Clarice? No cheap cologne whenever success never smelled so sweet. I stink of success. The new black elite. They say my black card bear the mark of the beast. I repeat my religion to the I repeat my religion is the beat. My verse is like church. My Jesus peace. Now please domino domino. Only spots a few blacks the higher I go. What's up to Will? Obviously probably the Smith shout out would be the guess there. Shout to O. That ain't enough. We need a million more. Kick in the door, Biggie Flow. I'm all dressed up with nowhere to go. And then Kanye on verse 2 to end the part 2 as well there. But, obviously, I think we can read the Jay-Z verse and be good with it there as well. But, obviously, again, definitely getting with the thematic depth as well too. So, there's still, again, even, getting a little, what do you say? Again, like we're saying, with the deep lyricism as well too, even if the album is, known for those big anthemic moments and the big celebratoriness and kind of the fun party vibes that it can kind of, provide as well too with those early parts of the album. The song Made in America, originally titled Sweet Baby Jesus, where here we have Jay, Ye, and R&B crooner back with Frank Ocean collaborating on a number that sums up the superstars' feelings about Black history, America, Jesus, and revisiting their respective rises to fames. Like Murder to Excellence, the song deals with the ideas of personal agency and triumphs over adversity as they relate to Blackness in contemporary America. And you get the Frank Ocean chorus, sweet King Martin, sweet Queen Coretta, sweet brother Malcolm, sweet Queen Betty, sweet Mother Mary, sweet Father Joseph, sweet Jesus, we made it in America, sweet baby Jesus. Ooh, sweet baby Jesus, we made it in America. Sweet baby Jesus, ooh, sweet baby Jesus, we made it in America. So, obviously maybe Frank Ocean is the one that you got to have deliver that as well. But verse 2, I pledge allegiance to my grandma for that banana pudding, our piece of Americana. Our apple pie was supplied through Arm& Hammer, straight out the kitchen. We don't wake Nana. built the republic that still stands. I'm trying to lead a nation. I'm trying to lead a nation to leave to my little mans or my daughters, so I'm boiling this water. The scale was lopsided. I'm just restoring order. Hold up, here comes grandma. What's up, yeah? What's the smell? Oh, I'm just boiling some agua. No papa, bad Santa. So the streets raised me, pardon my bad manners. I got my liberty chopped up. Graham's street justice. I pray God understands us. I pledge allegiance to all the scramblers. This is the Star Spangled Banner. So, again, obviously the sort of there is some, the American flag themedness to the album as well too. The Otis music video's got some like American flag presence, I guess, in it as well too. I guess, it's just there. We're just pointing it out. That's all. But, kind of a vibe. I guess the album art for Why I Love You's kind of got the red, white, and blue stripes as well too. And I guess this one was a single as well, maybe in some sense, but it is another, again, sort of iconic sample as well too, that I think is a little underrated. The Mr. Hudson verse on this is kind of fun. And then I don't just sometimes the way Jay just picks up on a verse. Like it just, he just knows how to enter a pause, like enter a verse with the right energy. And there is, again, just a good entrance to this one as well too. I guess the chorus is going right now, so if I like start saying the verse in my own mind, and then it starts playing, I'm gonna get a little confused. Picture, if you will, with the thrones burning, Rome's burning. I'm sitting in the corner all alone burning. Okay, I think that's about as far as we can go and keep up with Jay-Z. Why does it always end up like this? Something that we don't determine. Oh, see, chat, but we gotta let the song go and then just read it afterwards. It is what it is. When grief's over, beef's over, I'll be fly when Easter's over. All they ever wanted to be was soldiers. So when the love is gone till blood is drawn, 'cause we no longer wear the same uniform. The heavier squares, the circles got smaller. Castle got bigger, the walls got taller. Truth be told, after all you said, they still got love for you. Ooh, and then Mr. Hudson again kicking in on the chorus there, chat. And, kind of bringing back some of the rock energy to complete the sound of the album, kind of spins you right back into that next song as well, too. Which, again, if you were replaying the original track list without the deluxe extra cuts, it's going to put you right back into the pause, into the No Church in the Wild energy lane as well, too. And I don't know if there was like an effort to make that sort of conscience, to have that, that sort of sound loop situation there, if it's like a Tyler the Creator or a Kendrick situation. But again, it does, again, sonically set the tone back for playing it that way. And I guess 2011 as well too wouldn't have necessarily been like the streaming era. Would have just been, there would have been some early internet era stuff, like the SoundCloud era starting to form and stuff. So again, I don't know about is the last song of the album going to play into the first song of the album, if that would have been like a thought too much into the concern quite yet. But again, it does work for this and is iconic. So, Frank Ocean, sneaky, I guess probably the third MVP of the album in some ways. I guess maybe just Otis, for how iconic Otis is on that track, and then of course he is credited there as well too. But two tracklist credits for our guy Frank Ocean. So Jay-Z 1, Ye 2, Otis 3, Frank Ocean 4 as your Watch the Throne MVPs. There you go. But, and it turns out it's a big year pause for Jay-Z anniversaries here on the live stream, because make no mistake, we're just checking them all off the list. It is what it is. We had the Reasonable Doubt anniversary, of course, at the end of June. We have now Watch the Throne, but we also have the Blueprint in about a month here in September. So make no mistake, when the Blueprint 25th anniversary rolls around, we're doing that one as well too, because of course the discography is deserving of it. And, again, obviously, for our rotation, the Jay-Z discography is one of the best, one of our favorites. So, again, we're going to celebrate all of the album anniversaries while we can. And it does work kind of the order as well, too. We did get the, the first album at the first part of the year, and then I guess Watch the Thrones before the Blueprint. So the Kanye Jay-Z, I guess, collab of it all. Maybe we kind of got the end run, a little bit before the beginning run. But, still, again, the collab, where they're at in their careers and how they collab is, of course, different than the Blueprint. The Blueprint is more, Jay-Z's rise, just the beginning of Kanye's career there. So keeping that in line with Reasonable Doubt, obviously, those two back-to-back makes sense. We can slip Watch Thrones there, pause in the middle, with the collab album. But, again, they're all replay amazing. They all were worth the revisit, obviously, all iconic. So we will make sure to, go 3 for 3 with the Jay-Z album anniversaries this year. I guess this was the one that he probably wasn't overtly celebrating because, again, it's not like in his collection the same way with it being the collab. But, regardless, for the live stream purposes here, for the anniversary things, we will celebrate that here. Should we knock out the GOAT Lab before we go real quick, chat? Hey, yo. We should. We earned a GOAT Lab. I guess technically this would be the Saturday edition. Hey, yo. Not the Friday night. We could have sneaky done a double day edition of the GOAT Lab here. But oh, chat, we're really breaking we really know how to, rig the rules here on the live stream to make it work. It is what it is. Pause. Then I forgot about career mode on GOAT Lab. Hey, yo, do we just start a career here and keep it going? I think we start a career later. Oh, man, I think we start a career right after this. It is what it is. A weekend goal for this game. And I guess I've got to be honest. I keep telling myself, be like, oh, yeah, I'll play the GOAT Lab today and, keep up to date. And then we just never do. It is what it is. So it's just our excuse to, use the pod to play the game here one time. It is what it is. We're starting off with Iverson's ball handling. Pause. So we got a great start. 100. Probably going Jokic's height for 2010 Nuggets would be my guess. We have no 7-footers as an option. No Valanciunas. So I think 6'11 Jokic is probably a good bet here. 1990 Suns finishing. Hey, yo, Barkley around the basket. Let's go Barkley, chat. We're cooking. Oh, man, Saturday morning. It's being friendly. Oh, I think I got a random... oh, excuse me. Hey, yo. Wait. Oh, nope. Okay, we're going 1 for 1. I think I did do a random game, though, and not the daily. What a bummer. I guess we wouldn't have the same options if it was the daily, though. But this is still a great game. Okay, 2020 Bulls athleticism. This is interesting because it's not peak Levine athleticism. The sneaky option here is Caruso. If we're doing a speed run of the game. Though, we do have Caleb Wilson. I guess as a rookie option, do we just go Caleb Wilson here? 90 athleticism? Okay, we'll take it. Shoot, I guess maybe Caruso would have been a little higher, but good safe pick there. A rookie, nice and spry. I guess, Lakers, 1990s Lakers IQ. Oh, man, Shaq or Kobe? I mean, Shaq's not going to be a dumb player. 84? Oh, chat, imagine Shaq's IQ is the thing that brings down our player overall. That's a little disrespectful there to Shaq, honestly. 1980s 76ers passing. Bobby Jones or Maurice Cheeks, I guess, is our options here. Or, Barkley and Irvin, good passers as well, too. I think Cheeks is a good option, though. 85. We'll have to keep that in mind. 2010 Denver Nuggets defense? Okay, well, not Melo, because I feel like we've gotten burned on that before. Maybe Jokic. He is like a good advanced stats defender. Iguodala as well, too. Of course, once he goes to Golden State, he gets the defensive iconic boom sort of there, but I don't know if he was known as a defender in Denver at all. But I guess 2010's Denver is different than 2020's Denver. But Jokic did win an MVP in 19, or was it all 20? I guess it might have been all 20s. So we'll go Iguodala. Okay, 90 defense for Iguodala in Denver. Nice, we'll take it. Pause. 70s Denver rebounding. Okay, Ralph Simpson, not Ralph Sampson. Could be a little confusing there. Marvin Webster at 7'1". I guess Issel was pretty good. Bobby Jones at 6'9". We'll just go Dan Issel. I don't think Dan Issel was a massive rebounder. So we're going to probably be more like mid to high 80s here, but we'll take it. 82. Oh, even lower than I thought. That's bad. We do have some highs here to really balance this out, but our player is right down the middle, that high 80s rating that we've been falling into every time. It is what it is. And 2020's Hawks shooting. So I guess Trae Young's the easy one to go with here. Oh, we got a 90 overall. Okay, let's go. Amongst the best players that we built. A little like Kobe Bryant. I guess 2000's Kobe Bryant. Now, our player is 6'11", as tall as Jokic. So that is a little bit different there. But here, let's go back to the home page. Yeah, here we go. Today's challenge. Let's say blind draft, one shot. Oh, it doesn't tell us what the challenge is. Here, we'll click on it and see. The Clippers, is it daily numbers? Oh, okay, I guess there's no theme today. So I guess it is what it is. Clippers 2000s Clippers defense. Oh, Chad, I'm tempted to cheat and look up stats and see what's going on. I don't think this is the best defensive unit here, to be honest. Maybe Sam Cassell, but we've got Elton Brand, Baron Davis, Lamar Odom, Corey Maggette, Chris Kaman, Katino Mobley, Sean Livingston, Zach Randolph, Darius Miles, Eric Gordon. I mean, I don't think we have a defensive stopper on the list. Hey, yo. Again, I don't really know why I'm thinking Sam Cassell. Maybe we just go our best player available rule and go Elton Brand as well. But because I feel like, do we want kind of center forward defense or guard defense? I'm almost tempted to re-roll the stat. Hey, yo. Almost any stat here would be better. Maybe 3-point shooting wouldn't be ideal. But let's just go Sam Cassell and see 66 defense. Oh, chat, we're screwed. We're screwed to start. That's terrible. 1990s Cavaliers finishing. We're going to have to literally be perfect from here on out. So Brad Daugherty, I guess, is our next option. 86. This player is going to be trash. Hey, yo, sorry for our daily challenge score. It is what it is. 1990s Timberwolves handles. I guess our player's just like James Harden, kind of. He's just great on offense. So Stephon Marbury's not going to be bad here for sure. Again, 1990s Timberwolves. Today's category is bad stats for the team. Whatever version of the team is, we have the wrong stat here. So, okay, 92 handle for Marbury. We'll take that. 2010s Cavs rebounding. I would say LeBron, but we have done LeBron here, and it hasn't been as good as we wanted it. It's been like in the 80s. Pause. Hey, that was a pause. But, so I think we're going to go Kevin Love, though. Again, Kevin Love's rebounding was not as good in Cleveland as LeBron's rebounding, though. I think maybe Kevin Love's going to have the higher rebounding rating. Yeah, 93. I feel like when we pulled that LeBron last time, it was in the 80s. But 2000s Celtics shooting. Okay, here we go. We get Ray Allen, 97. Our player is a little like James Harden. Hey, yo. Great handles, great rebounding, great shooting. I guess maybe he'd be a little better at the basket, but no defense as well. So do we go with the James Harden height? I guess, do we just make him 6'6" and just try to maybe when people look at our player, they'll just think we're recreating James Harden? But I think we have to stick with our rule and just take the tallest guy available every time. So Robert Parrish, 7 foot tall. We're going to have to lock that in to really up the score here at this point. 1980 Nets athleticism. Oh, we have to go Daryl Dawkins. Daryl Dawkins used to break backboards. So if Daryl Dawkins has anything lower than a 90, that's just wrong. It is what it is. 88! Okay, close, but still not enough as I was like. And is the athleticism in the legs? So it's like Daryl Dawkins' jumping ability is what we got here. Again, we should be just like smashing through backboards. Okay, 1990s Jazz passing. John Stockton. There we go. We got a good stat there. 70s, I guess also James Harden. So today's challenge was build James Harden as player. 1970s Warriors IQ. So again, Rick Barry did not have the IQ of a good teammate, but he was a smart basketball player. So, and also Nate Thurman as well too, shout out. But I guess we're gonna go Rick Barry, just because. Okay, Doncic, I guess, is our player. Again, also a James Harden type. 87. Hey, yo, that was terrible. We can't end off like that. We have to do one more decent run. I guess our personal best is a 91. Okay, let's see if we can up our personal best before we go. 1990s Kings IQ. Okay, Jason Williams passing. 76? We might just rage quit. It is what it is. I thought about it. I didn't know if it'd be funny, but nope, we'll stick through and just keep going, I guess. It is what it is. We'll just speed run this. Okay, thanks for joining us tonight. We'll be done. Earl Monroe passing, I guess, is what we're going to go here with the Bullets. Oh, this is a terrible player. This is a terrible player. Earl Monroe's got a 78 passing. Did I take the wrong Jason Williams here? I may have. Because how is one of the greatest passers this game has ever seen have a 76 basketball IQ? what is this? So 2010s Raptors rebounding. Well, once again, nobody on this team rebounds. It's all forwards. Valanciunas. Hey, okay, at 94 rebounding. There we go. We might be able to make this back a little bit. 1990s Raptors shooting. Oh, no. Oh, no. Let's go Stoudemire and see if we get 80. That's not good. 2020s Raptors finishing. Okay, is Kawhi an option? Kawhi is not an option. We're going to have to go with Scotty Barnes. This player is going to be coming off the bench for somebody for a good 3 years and then go to Italy. Scotty Barnes or Pascal Siakam or Fred VanVleet or OG Anunoby or Gary Trent Jr. or Chris Boucher. I guess we just go with Scotty Barnes. Just pick mid players at this point. It is what is 1990s Rockets athleticism. I guess our player could be flying around, so shout out. He'll be flying around like Hakeem, but he won't be any good. I guess, which is why he'll be in the league for so long, because he'll be a great athlete with no stats. A great athlete who rebounds but can't do anything once he rebounds, I guess, is basically our player. Again, not Hakeem at all, but at least Hakeem's athleticism. 2020 Suns handles. Okay, so Devin Booker's handles, or I guess we have to go Chris Paul's handles, right? Yeah, 96. So he can rebound and just cross a guy up, but then he's gonna throw it right to the other team afterwards. I guess is what's gonna happen. Okay, 2020 Nets heights. So he will be as tall as Durant. That's something. At least that goes with the rebounding. And then 1990s Supersonics defense. Okay, we got Gary Payton there. So, yep, straight up role player, 87. A Giannis Antetokounmpo type. Oh, no. What a disrespect to Giannis's game. Athletic, rebounding, good ball handling, tall, no skills. I guess is what they're saying about Giannis. Okay, wait a second. One more, chat. One more, since that was so bad. We have to make it up. 1980 Denver Nuggets handles. So, Fat Lever or Alex English? I think, again, overthinking it hasn't gone well, but Alex English, he's going to have like a 70s. Fat Lever. Let's see. 88. Okay, I'll take it. Pause. That's fine. If that's our lowest, we can work with that. 2010's Hawks defense. Again, Al Horford may seem like a boring choice here, but I think that is the right move. 84 for Al Horford as a defender? Oh, no. 2000s Mavericks athleticism. Some sneaky choices here with Michael Finley, Josh Howard, Jerry Stackhouse as well too. But let's go. I feel like we've taken Stackhouse before, and he hasn't been good in the athleticism category. Again, just how they have him scored. Stackhouse is a great athlete, but I feel like they didn't respect it on the score enough. So let's Josh Howard no. Let's go Michael Finley and see if we get 80 athleticism. Okay, this is another mid player. It is what it is. We're just gonna have to take the L and leave. Moses Malone, Hakeem for the rebounding. Of course, we have to take Hakeem. It is what it is. 92. 70s Celtics passing. Okay, we just miss out on Bird, which is tough. Though JoJo White did win a Finals MVP. You know, Havlicek also pretty good in his own right as well too. I guess we just go Havlicek. It is what it is. 80 passing for Havlicek. I mean, our player is good. You know, Hakeem, Havlicek, Al Horford, Michael Finley, and Fat Lever is a good combo of skills, but maybe just the wrong ones. Knicks height, 1980 Knicks height. Let's just take a short player just to ruin the vibe. Rod Strickland, 6'3". Nah, Truck Robinson, 6'11". Oh, Pat Ewing, 7 foot. There we go. We'll take that there. Pause. 1980 Warriors finishing. World Be Free, maybe. Oh, Bernard King, I think is our option here. Yeah, probably Bernard King. Okay, there we go. So our guy's tall and he can rebound and get to the basket. Okay, so we do really have like a center, like a Clint Capella type here as well. A little bit of a handle, not quite as much defense as you'd like. I guess Capella is maybe a pretty good defender. So maybe like I guess Hartenstein's a good defender as well too. So maybe like a late stage Al Horford kind of, but 1990s Suns shooting. So we have Marley, Ainge, or Kevin Johnson to choose from as our option. Jason Kidd as well, too, could be a sneaky choice here. I want to go Ainge, I guess. You know, AO. But Marley or Kevin Johnson. I guess let's just go Marley. Screw it. 88 for the shooting. Okay. So we can, maybe like a Porzingis type. Oh, okay. Kristaps Porzingis. That's not bad. I guess, you know, decent around the basket. Can step out and hit a three. You know, underrated, you know, shot blocker. I guess maybe Porzingis with a slightly better handle.
is what we got here. And then 1970s Celtics IQ to round it out. John Havlicek, I guess again? Who did? Yeah, Havlicek's passing and his he has an 80 passing, but is he going to have a good IQ? So Dave Cowens, JoJo White, or Paul Silas, or chat, we missed out on Nate Archibald. I guess. Hey, yeah, I don't know if he's like a passer though, more of a scorer. But no, I think Tiny Art, yeah, he was a passer. I guess we'll take his IQ then. 86. Okay. Oh, Joel Embiid. I guess instead of Porzingis. So they gave us a little bit more there on maybe some of the, well, I guess the 80 athleticism. I don't know. Either way, not a great run, but it is what it is. We'll see y'all for the Sunday live stream, I guess, in a couple hours. Hey, I guess enjoy your Saturday here. Like I said, Sunday, Tuesday, Friday is the schedule. You can join us back again for the Sunday edition here on the YouTube. Catch us on the podcast feeds. Hit us up on the Instagram at RemingTonm Pod. And we'll see you all in a little bit. Enjoy your weekend. Peace.